Punching Up, a Nintendo podcast, is brought to you by you. If you want to learn how to support our show, go to patreon.com/laststandmedia. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Punching Up, your bi-weekly Nintendo podcast from Last Stand Media. I'm your host, Dustin. Here with me, with a smile, Gene. You got there's a little smirk going on there. Did I say something, or are you just in a good mood? You happy to see me?
You startled me. That was a burst of energy that I wasn't expecting. It's just like, I don't know if I've ever heard you that energetic ever before.
Well. So I was just telling Micah when we were kind of just waiting, hanging out before you logged in. I was like, yeah, I felt like I got hit by a truck this morning. But that's the thing. You just gotta turn it on, to some degree. But maybe sometimes I've done this before. I freaked out Colin once because I noticed when I was editing that I had this like not resting bitch face, but resting bored face. I was like, come on, girl, you just gotta smile a little bit, to myself. And so we started Sacred Night, and I like had a big smile, and he's like, "What the fuck's wrong with you?" It's like, "Oh, I'm trying to compensate for not having a good resting face, and I went too far." So I don't know, maybe a little extra on the intro. But Gene, how are you this morning?
Good. Just waking up basically. So I'm a little Chris Ray Gun-ish right now, basically. Because Chris wakes up. Well, I mean, you guys record Sacred early on Chris's side, right?
Right.
And
yeah, because it's 1 p.m. for us. So that's what, 10?
Yeah, and I know Chris doesn't like waking up that early. Although he did say, I didn't hear him mention that he turned 30 a couple days ago, and now he's waking up early. And it's like, yeah, that happens, buddy. Welcome.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's.
Are you 30 yet?
I am. Yeah, I'm actually.
Yeah. Well, see,
I'm getting close to 31 now. I'll be 31 in September.
Oh, see, there you go. See, yeah, it happens. So
yeah, it happens. But I kind of enjoy it to some degree. It depends. Like sometimes you wake up earlier, and then if you're in the right mood, you can get all this shit done. And then it's lunchtime. You're like, oh, I put in an entire work day. It feels like based on the quantity of what I was able to get done. But it's
you
new.
get a lot done. I used to wake up early when I was in my 30s. I was like, oh, here it goes, right? And then like through my late 30s. But then the pandemic and the last few years of getting sick totally fucked up my sleep schedule. So now I'm like basically like call it like I sleep till like 1. So
yeah, hey, I don't begrudge it. If you got your schedule set up, that's the way to do it if you want. But also joining us here, Mama Micah. Hello, how are you today?
I'm doing very well, thank you. I told you, Dustin, I actually have a coffee this morning, and that's how you know I'm not doing well, because coffee for me is like an afternoon treat, and it's often decaf. Like I'll have a coffee at like 5 p.m. just because I like the taste of it, right? So I'll just have a decaf or something. The fact that I'm actually drinking coffee and it's the morning, I couldn't fall asleep last night. And I don't know what it was, but to try and soothe myself, I kept looking at recipes. But then I went down this rabbit hole of recipes, and I realized it's like 3 a.m. I'm no closer to sleeping, but I favorited a bunch of recipes. So
okay.
I got something out of it, but I don't know what the hell is going on. Usually recipes put me right out. I don't know why it didn't work yesterday.
Yeah. Now, Micah, you bring up all these recipes. You and I are both the same in that we love cooking and trying out new recipes. I pitched the idea on Sacred Symbols of a Last Stand cookbook where each member can contribute a few recipes, and we have this Last Stand like family cookbook.
Oh,
I think it's a great idea. So I don't know. Any thoughts? Like, are you into this?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I got the mac and cheese recipe that the family's very fond of. I could bring some of that like Southern flair to it. My mom's like favorite recipes, not like her direct recipes, but yeah, the collard greens and the mac and cheese, the cone bread, all those type of things. I would be totally into that. Also like soup. If we did a section on soups, we got to put a picture of Carl Weathers in it though, saying like, now we got a soup going. We got to do that.
That's right.
Rest in peace, Carl.
Yeah. No, I'd be totally into that because it would be cool. It's what I did for my wedding invitations was I sent you guys those recipe cards, to like if you have a favorite recipe you want to share, send it over. And now I just have this whole, booklet of recipes for my friends and family. So no, I'm totally
Yeah.
into that.
I'm trying to remember what Holly submitted on
It
that.
was this really good salsa recipe.
Yes,
Which,
the Chipotle
and
salsa.
yeah, and it's
So
just one of
good.
those things of like, oh, I mean, entertaining recipes is a big part of why I did this in the first place because it's like, yeah, give me recipes for dips and appetizers, like easy
Mhm.
things too, because I don't host family gatherings a lot. But when I do, it's like, well, here's some just super quick, simple recipes I can pull from that have been tried and tested by my family and friends, essentially. No, I absolutely love the idea of Last Stand Cookbook. Get Maddie in on that as well. He likes to throw down in the kitchen. We put
Oh
a
yeah,
whole section in there about grilling. I mean,
grilling. That's right. Yeah, dude, grilling. It's grilling season now, and I couldn't be happier.
oh, yeah, I grilled last night. I'm going to grill again tonight. I mean,
Beautiful.
this is the time of year where I'm grilling 2, 3 times a week.
Yeah, that's the way to do it. It's just so convenient. Don't heat up your house. Food's delicious. It's perfect. But yeah, not being able to sleep, not very fun either. You know what? Last night I kind of had a weird night where we recorded Summon Sign late. So we started at 5. So we stopped around 8. I went and ate dinner, and then I came back and I started to work on this episode, and I started to just feel like stressed for no reason, which is not normal for me. Like I could feel this like almost tension in my arms and like tightness in my chest. And I was like, oh, this isn't good.
Oof.
So I finished up my work, started to play Stellar Blade. That made it kind of worse, I think. So I was like sitting there, I was like, Holly, let's just watch an episode of One Piece and then go to bed because I don't know what the fuck's wrong with me. Because there's nothing specific that I can think of that is making me feel stressed out. I just feel stressed for no reason. So I went to bed and I woke up and I traded that off for like a mild sinus headache, but that's okay. Sometimes you got to take what you can get. But so I don't know, weird situation. But anyway, this is a Nintendo podcast, Punching Up. Thanks everybody for being here. We appreciate you coming and hanging out. We've got some cool, more Switch 2 rumors, and these ones, a lot more detail, which I think is going to be pretty fun to talk about. But before we get into that, I got to mention patreon.com/laststandmedia. That's where we live. That's where we're able to go and make this content and make it a priority for us, make it our jobs. And it's all thanks to you guys. So if you want to write into the show, which I've got tons of your write-ins here that we'll be able to read off. If you want to write in, get early access to this show, early access to Sacred Symbols, Defining Duke, all of our shows, you can go head over there. And there's a $5 a month tier. That's the sweet spot where you get everything. And yeah, so usually the way it works for this show, I don't know if I've ever really fully explained this, that usually on either Sunday or Monday, I'll make a thread for Punching Up where you can write in and I review all that, figure out where your questions fit into the show, just because we love hearing from you guys. So make sure to check us out there. And of course, if you don't want to do that, that's fine. If you could leave us a rating, review on different podcast services, comment on YouTube, all that stuff helps us out. We super appreciate it. All right. Well, guys, let's get into some news about Switch 2 rumors. And I gotta say, I started putting together all this news last night. It's actually, I think I sat down to work on this news 3 different times. And the first time I started to get the Switch news, the rumors, and there was like multiple reports that came out through the week, and I was having a hard time because some sites would list out some news, and then other ones I was like, oh, where's this detail from? I didn't see that in this report. And so eventually I just went to the actual source instead of like these rewrites and was able to kind of congeal everything together because this came out through, like I said, a few different reports throughout the week. So primarily, though, I structured my news here from Insider Gaming. So I'm going to read some of what they said and also about their source. So rumors surrounding the Nintendo Switch 2 continue to come out. This time, the information is from peripheral maker Mobapad about the Nintendo Switch 2's Joy-Con controllers, backwards compatibility plans, and 4K resolution support. And as I said, this is from Insider Gaming writing this. So they said, first, as a follow-up to reports about the new Nintendo Switch 2, Joy-Cons would use magnets to connect the console. Mobapad has more information about the controllers and what it all means. So before I continue, Mobapad, I looked them up. They make Switch peripherals, and I was very confused about this, and I'm not really sure why they would just go out and be like, hey, we learned about Switch 2, we're going to post it. I don't know what their relationship with Nintendo is like. I imagine Nintendo doesn't really like this, and I guess it could be possible that they're making this shit up. As with any rumor, we got to take it with a grain of salt, but it seems like they would potentially know something, but I don't understand the thought process behind them posting this, unless they just kind of are working rogue on Switch stuff after market. But then how would they have access? A lot of questions here, but let's get into the details. They said, quote, in process of developing the next generation console controller, Mobapad has also acquired a lot of firsthand information about the Switch 2, and now we're here to share it with everyone, they said. According to the company, the new Joy-Cons have, quote, larger volume and will use what's called magnetic suction, to attach the console in handheld mode. They said, quote, the SL and the SR buttons. So these are the buttons, real quick, that are inside the Joy-Con. So when you use them sideways, there's these tiny little buttons you put the rail on. Those are the SL and SR buttons. Those are going to be metal buttons now. And the magnetic suction is achieved through electromagnetic suction technology controlled by electric current.
Sure, I believe it.
Yeah, a little suction technology. You're no stranger to that, Gene.
Yeah. That's how the magnets work.
Yeah, that's right. They said it's worth noting that in addition to the L, ZL, R, and ZR buttons on the sides of the Joy-Con controller, a third button has been added to both the left and the right side. And this is assumed to be on the back, kind of under where those buttons are. Two little buttons there. And then according to the company, Switch 2 will support backwards compatibility for physical games, physical and digital, allowing original Switch games to be played on the new console. It's also said the Switch 2 will support 4K resolution when docked. In handheld mode, the console will feature an 8-inch display with a 1080p resolution, confirming some prior rumors we had heard about the screen. So, in summary, because that was a lot, new larger Joy-Cons attached via magnets, compatible with older controllers are questionable. See, I meant to put that in earlier. That's why I said I was taking all these different things. One of the things they said is that your old controllers will be able to connect, specifically the Pro controller, and possibly Joy-Cons, but they're not going to attach to the side. So you're going to need new Joy-Cons for handheld mode. Support for backwards compatibility seems to be locked in. 4K resolution when docked, 8-inch 1080p screen. So a lot of interesting details about the hardware here. Guys, let's go to the audience. I want to start here actually with this one from Nevitz, and then we can kind of lead the conversation that way. He says, hello, Punch Buddies. With all the rumors of what the Nintendo Switch 2 controller will be like, I want to know what you want in a controller. Do you want motion controls at all? Do you want back pedals? Do you want a turbo button? What's your take? G'day. So yeah, the big news here, I think, is the controllers adding in buttons in the back. A new, getting rid of the rail technology for some kind of electromagnetic shit sounds kind of interesting. So, Mike, I'll throw this to you first. How do you take this new controller news? A larger Joy-Con as well. That's something to consider. A lot of different details here. How are you taking it?
Yeah, I'm definitely not disappointed to hear that the new Joy-Cons would be larger, because as someone who has small hands, even I say that the Joy-Cons are often too small. Like I play a lot of Switch handheld. It's generally pretty comfortable, but even I get to the point where I have hand fatigue for the opposite reason of playing PS5, and it's because like the Joy-Cons are so small that I'm like holding it awkwardly almost, and whereas like the Switch Pro controller, very comfortable. I'm a big fan of that controller. They improved on it a lot from the Wii U Pro controller, which was also pretty decent. Like the Switch one is just far better. So hearing that we might be getting larger Joy-Cons, I'm pretty stoked on that. It's disappointing to think that you wouldn't be able to maybe use like your Joy-Con collection like in handheld mode, but you could still, so long as you could still connect them for party games, then it's not a complete waste, right? When they come out with the next 1-2 Switch for the Switch 2, then you'll say, okay, well, we have all these old Joy-Cons we can bring out and everyone can still connect with them and play along. Or if you're playing like Mario Kart or something, I won't be too upset so long as there is some functionality for those controllers.
Kind of like how
Again,
the Wii can still use the Wii modes for the Wii U, right? Yeah.
Right.
yeah, exactly. You know, I won't be too disappointed. And I say that just because the Joy-Cons are so expensive, right? I mean, controllers
They
are
are.
expensive these days, but man, those Joy-Cons, it's part of why I didn't collect too many of them because I wasn't sure if they would be compatible with the next, iteration of the Switch. But this doesn't, I'm certainly happy if their Joy-Cons are going to be bigger. Sounds pretty cool. Attaching with magnets sounds neat. I do encounter sometimes while playing in handheld mode that the Joy-Cons shift upward slightly on that rail system and I have to like pop them back in place. So maybe that would alleviate that issue. I'm definitely excited to see what this is actually going to look like if these rumors are true, the functionality of some additional buttons. No, so this is for me is all exciting.
Yeah. Yeah. I kept thinking about It's Always Sunny clip. They're like, what's your favorite hobby? Magnets. Magnets? Yeah, just magnets. So yeah, it's good to see they're changing it up. Specifically, I think for the bigger aspect, because that's the thing. One of the top Switch accessories is getting some kind of grip, so you can hold it without
Yes.
it breaking your hands.
Mhm.
So, Gene, I want to go to you on this, but I want to read kind of a similar question from Haru Discourse. It says, "Hey, Brickfisters. After hearing that the Super Switch is rumored to feature new magnetic Joy-Cons with metal SL and SR buttons, I couldn't help but feel disappointed that they are sticking with a similar controller design for handheld mode. Does anyone even still feel like using the sideways Joy-Cons? Is having a D-pad for playing side-scrollers in handheld mode too much to ask for? How does the P-Up crew feel about this news? Thanks for the excellent content." Gene, what are your thoughts?
Well, first of all, when you said "hello, Bricksters" or whatever, your audio cut out, so it just says it sounded like you said "hey, fucksters."
Hey, folks. Whoa. That's
Hey,
a new level.
fuckers. What do you think about the Joy-Con? Well, I'm not sure what they're asking. Like the D-pad, I don't know. I figured the button layout is just fine. I am really excited to hear about more about that third button that they added. And when this makes me think about fucking Elite controllers. Xbox sells their Elite controllers, and PlayStation has the DualSense Edge controllers, and they charge these controllers cost almost up to $300, right?
Yeah, I think the Edge is 200.
Yeah, the Edge is
I want to say 2 or 250.
the Edge is the price of an entire Nintendo Switch, right? And the Elite controller could be up to $200 too. And that's the only way you can get like official back pedals for these buttons. And then here comes Nintendo, and it's like, okay, well, our regular controller might just have, hopefully, I don't know. Again, these are just rumors, right? But if that's true, then it's like, oh, hey, Nintendo's like, hey, here's just two more controllers. Here's just two more buttons. It's regular now, standard. And it reminds me of like when the like holy shit, we got a lot of value back then when we were growing up with the Nintendo to the Super Nintendo. We went from 2 buttons to 6 buttons, like just for free. Just like, hey, here's the upgrade. Welcome to the next generation, bitch. Here's 6 buttons.
It is quite the jump up. I mean, from 2 and then the shoulder buttons too. It's
yeah.
It's
but
harder
I'm also
for
excited
me
to hear about the thicker Joy-Cons. Obviously, as you mentioned, I have a ton. I have a ton of Switch grips. Satisfy grips are the best one because they're a little bit oblong, so it kind of like makes it kind of make more sense where your left hand is more like vertical and your right hand is like this, and you're just kind of playing. Really good grip, but and I also use Hori pads, and I wonder if the new Switch 2 controller is gonna more look like a Hori pad. So it's just kind of like thicker Joy-Cons that just kind of attach to the side. If you've ever seen a Hori pad, do you have one? Do you guys have one of those?
I've seen them. I don't have one though.
They also
Is
have
that the one that has like an actual D-pad on it? Because I have a red like translucent like left Joy-Con that has like an actual D-pad on it.
Oh yeah. Those are cool, but the Hori pads are like thick. They're thick like Xbox controllers. And then they have back buttons too. So then they basically turn your Switch into like a Steam Deck looking like device. So I doubt that the official Nintendo one is going to be that thick. But I wonder if it's going to be a little bit rounder, and the Switch is going to kind of lose like its flat profile. And I wonder if Nintendo will just be like, hey, if you just want the flatter profile, then here's shittier Joy-Cons. We're going to for $80, you know.
Yeah.
And probably sell those, because that sounds like a Nintendo thing to do, you know. If you really care about the aesthetics of the console, and you just want shittier Joy-Cons, and here's one without any of the thickness, you know.
One thing I neglected to put in the write-up, as I said, there's so many smaller details in this. This is from the Mobapad blog. They said, additionally, the home button on the right Joy-Con, there will be an additional function button.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
There as well. And I was racking my brain trying to think, what would this do? Because on the left side, we have the screenshot button. On the right side, we have the home button. Maybe this is like a button to like hot swap what the back buttons do, like if they're mappable,
yeah, that could be
or
it.
something.
That could be it. Yeah, that could be it. Maybe
because that's what the
maybe
DualSense Edge has, those nubs at the bottom. You hold them down, and then you can kind of select your profiles. So maybe that's what that's for.
That's exactly what the Hori pads have too, because the Hori pads also have back buttons, and then so there is like a training button where you have to click it on and then press the buttons to basically teach the back button to know which button to push. So I don't know. Yeah. So are these back buttons new buttons, or are these just back buttons as back buttons? Who knows? You know.
Right.
But that would make the Switch the most buttony controller if all this is true. So
right. Yeah. I mean, also, so we talked about, or I brought up the magnetic suction technology. I don't know why saying magnetic suction. I don't know if that's just like 10-year-old brain for me, but the fact that it's not just magnetic, they got to say it's magnetic suction. It's like, yeah, we get it. That's what magnets fucking do. But
it's like it's a 10-year-old brain in me is like, wait, you mean I could be fucking magnets this whole time?
Yeah. I was trying to think like what's the design choice around this, because the Switch rail system, I mean, sure, we've seen Switch rail, like, Joy-Cons break at the rails. People say they get loose or whatever, but I don't feel like it's one of the prevailing things that people have talked about Joy-Cons, like, the shitty rail system. That,
I like it. It's cool. It worked fine,
Right. I wonder, and I think too, like, I don't know shit about magnets, really, the electrolyte magnet. So apparently, because I was thinking like a normal magnet, you can get some pretty strong magnets, but I would be worried about them falling off. But apparently adding a little charge to there, they can make these really stick on there, which is kind of interesting. I wonder how that would affect battery life, but Nintendo's pretty good about battery life in general. So,
yeah, I don't know about the stickiness of a magnet controller. I feel a little superstitious. I'm like the Insane Clown Posse. Magnets, how do they work?
How do they work, dude?
I don't know. It's like magic to me. There's a real physicality of the hardware of just sliding a fucking thing into a rail. It's like the railroads. Like the fucking train system. But
right,
magnets,
it's gonna be, dude. It's funny, they add all this new stuff, a new button, this magnet technology, stuff like that, and it'll be so funny if these controllers still drift.
I mean, I guess trains run on magnets too, right? So
yeah,
it could be that. I don't know.
So let's talk a little bit about backwards compatibility, because that's one of the big questions that we've talked about over the last few months. This question comes from Cormac to kind of set the tone. He says, "Hello, Fisters. Ooh. With the leak suggesting Switch 2 will play OG Switch titles and possibly enhancing them in terms of frame rate / visuals," which the write-in said that, but I don't think that's actually in the Mobapad doc. But like I said, information on this is all over the place. What games would you consider revisiting if this was the case? Perhaps another playthrough of Breath of the Wild / Tears of the Kingdom? Cheers, folks. Cormac. So yeah, with backwards compatibility, we could just have kind of a blanket thing where, hey, this plays your Switch 1 games, and that's good enough. But I think when they look at, and not that they care a lot about PlayStation and Xbox, but you see backwards compatibility elsewhere, providing different frame rate enhancements, potentially resolution enhancements, or even full-blown updates to the game to kind of make them run on the better hardware. So, Micah, how are you feeling? Hopefully not confirmation, but more news pointing to backwards compatibility and what kind of features you'd like to see from it.
Yeah, so this would be very welcome news for me to hear, like, yes, you know, all your Switch cartridges will work on the new system. That'd be all I need. I already saw some people complaining that, well, this doesn't imply that you'd be able to play games older than Switch on it. And I certainly wasn't asking for that type deal. Like, I'm not expecting this thing to take Game Boy Advance cartridges, okay? Like, let me play my Switch library on
He's
here
complaining
because it's the most
about the Switch not playing older games. What the fuck?
Oh my God, no. Because when I saw some of these rumors being posted on Reddit and then seeing normal people being like, oh, sweet, being able to play my Switch cartridges on here would be awesome. And then seeing people say, but what about older games? And it's like, I don't have time for that. All right. I'm talking about the 100 cartridges I have over here that like I really want to still be able to just play.
Mhm.
So that would be very welcome news. Wouldn't be upset with that at all. In terms of seeing like some enhancements on these games, we're going to get into it later with the what I'm playing, but I just started playing Xenoblade Chronicles 2, which, Gene, that came out in like 2017, did it?
It was a Switch launch. It was within the launch window of the Switch.
Yeah, and I'm going to talk about it later, but this game is chugging
Mm-hmm.
on the Switch,
Mm-hmm.
all right? Now, my Switch isn't brand new. It is indeed itself from 2017, but it's funny to see that a game that, you know, launched within this window was already taxing the system in terms of like you'll be running across a field full of enemies and the frame rate just drops. It gets really pixelated and bad, and I'm having fun with it. But it's just like this game came out the same year as the system, and it was already like at its limits. And so being able to see some of these titles look a little sharper, a little crisper would be awesome. I'm thinking of games like Shining Resonance Refrain, which is a game that's very pretty. You have these like magical girls wearing really pretty costumes and outfits, and it has a fantastic soundtrack that's like the main draw of the game. But games like that where it's like you're in a battle and it kind of like slows way down, it doesn't ruin the experience by any means, but to see that a bit crisper, a bit sharper would be awesome. So I would be excited to revisit some of these titles, mostly shorter games. There's no way I'm replaying, you know, Xenoblade Chronicles 1 just to see how it looks. But I would be excited for people who haven't played these titles yet if they wanted to get into them and they could have it look even better. You know, this would be a win all the way around.
Yeah, and I wonder too, the thing with backwards compatibility. So I mentioned in the write-up that it's going to support both physical and digital. One note that Mobapad made is that the second generation Switch cartridges may not be compatible with the first generation. So that makes sense. I wonder if we're going to see a return of the 3DS cartridge nub on Switch 2 games so they don't quite fit in or something like that. That would make some sense. But the thing that concerns me, because I think that having old games run better on a new console is great. Great value for consumers, great reason to return to these old games. But I don't view Nintendo as a value company in a lot of ways. And so, Gina, I wanted to ask you, do you think that if Nintendo, sure, like normal backwards compatibility, if that's the case, I think will just be put in your old Switch games, they play. But I would expect if they're going to be putting, you know, they have an opportunity to sell you a $10 update for Tears of the Kingdom, you know, Sony style with the original PS5 when that was happening.
Oh
Do
my
you
God.
think that they're going to charge for that, or is this the generosity that we don't see very often from Nintendo?
Wow, that's a really, really good point. We were assuming this whole time, yeah, it maybe. Well, I mean, because that's what happened with the Wii U, right? The problem with the Wii U is that, well, I don't know, like the Wii games perform better on the Wii U.
I think that, I mean, it gave you an
I don't think so.
HDMI out, so you could, but it wasn't going to like upscale it to even 720p. I think it was just like 480p running on your nicer screen. So I don't
Yeah,
think there was much in terms of any kind of enhancements.
Yeah, that's true. I think it did just give you a solid HDMI out for widescreen 480p
Mhm.
gameplay. Um, yeah, wow, I didn't even think about that. To take that for granted. Now that you mention it, yeah, I think there's every possible reality where Nintendo just says like, hey, yeah, you want to play fucking Tears of the Kingdom in 60 frames per second, 4K? Yeah, here's a $10 digital upgrade for your cartridge, basically. Um, yeah, I don't see that as being an unreasonable expectation, to be quite honest. Um, yeah,
Yeah.
it's a little horrifying. I'm like trying to calculate the discourse. I think a lot of people will be upset because like it's upsetting to me to even consider it right now, you know. But
Right.
it's also very much a harsh reality. Um,
Yeah. I think there are ways that maybe they could sweeten the deal. Maybe we never got DLC for Tears of
mhm.
the Kingdom, and while I'm not expecting a full expansion, if they say something like, "Hey, here's the Switch 2 upgrade. It has a few more missions, a few more outfits,
Oh,
and
if they
so
just give us a Master Cycle again, like in the Breath of the Wild DLC, and then
yeah,
just give Link the motorcycle again, like that would be a sick a DLC edition for Tears of the Kingdom because here, again, Tears of the Kingdom is such a long game, such a vast game. It'd be fun to travel around that game with just the Master Sword cycle again. Yeah,
yeah.
I pay $10 for that, no problem.
I want to go to Lauren E.
Hold on,
Talking a
hold on,
bit
hold on.
about.
Let me answer the previous
Oh,
question about what
oh,
game.
sorry. I'm sorry. Didn't
Yeah, yeah,
realize.
yeah.
Go for
Well,
it.
Bayonetta 3, which we'll talk about later, which I'm also playing right now. That game definitely needs some performance work, and I'd be really, really excited to. I think the first game I would test, if there are performance improvements, would be Age of Calamity: Hyrule Warriors.
Oh
Because
yeah.
did you guys ever play that?
No, but I saw the like Digital Foundry videos on it.
Yeah, and it's such a good game. It's probably the best Dynasty Warrior games ever made. There's so much cool stuff. It actually plays like a Zelda game. They actually use actual like locations from Tears of the Kingdom and Breath of the Wild like in the map, and then they just fucking toss like thousands and thousands of moblins and goblins in there, and it's fucking cool. And it actually feels like a real war, and you get to like fight as Ganon, right? And then when you're fighting against Ganon, like he takes up like most of the screen, and like every time he hits, like there's always like explosions popping off, and the game runs at like fucking like 8 frames per second. Like it's a
Ouch.
travesty, you know.
Yeah.
So to be able to see that game move and that it'll be like readable, would be so fun. I completed the shit out of that game. Like as trashy as that game is performing, I completed almost everything in that game. I was very much a Gerard the completionist. Well, maybe a little bit more charitable with my time, but
Mm.
uh, you know, and then yeah, and so I'd be really happy to just go back in there and just like rip shit up as Ganon,
Yeah. Yeah, I'm glad. And you brought up Bayonetta 3
Mhm.
also. That one, it was so weird for me when I played through Bayonetta 1, 2, and 3 early last year. And I remember that playing Bayonetta 2 on Switch was awesome. Just, I mean, not like perfect like experience, but overall really good. And then you go to the newer game with Bayonetta 3, which, yeah, the environments are a lot larger and there's some different things, but the performance aspect was little dicey on
Mhm.
that one. So that's one of those things where if the game is like CPU limited and it's able to kind of like in the PlayStation world where certain games just automatically, since they have more headroom, are able to increase the frame rate, that would
Mhm.
be ideal for a game like that. But yeah, it's it's kind of sad that uh, a game as big as like, hey, it is a spin-off game, but a Zelda game on the Switch
Mhm.
is just like, man, this is good, but it's just not ideal. We need a new hardware to
Yeah,
make it. I mean, it's you played through all of it, so I'm not saying it's not playable, but
yeah, yeah.
not
I
ideal.
I played through all of it. I still had a really fun time. But yeah, just be able to see it run nice would be great. And apologies to Gerard. I'm sorry, man.
Well, and this makes me wonder, just slight side note, um, I wonder another way for Nintendo to extract more value out of like backwards compatibility would be doing some, the way PlayStation has the greatest hits, games and like little red cases and everything. They could totally do some reprints of some very popular Switch games, with like updated box art, say, like Switch, what I'm not going to call it greatest hits, but whatever they'd want to call it, and do some of these reprints of games that maybe weren't, running as well on the original Switch, or that they just want to highlight again in the future. Because it's just one of those things of like, I adore those like different cases. Not everyone likes them, but I loved collecting the red, PlayStation cases. I adore having those in the collection. And it's just another way, though, to kind of like highlight some of these games and get people to, if you didn't play it on your old Switch, play it now on your new one. It's going to work. So I don't know. I wonder if they could do some stuff like that to just get even more value out of backwards compatibility and out of the physical market, too, because I feel like just in terms of what I see in our own community and the gaming forums that I'm a part of, Switch players are some of the like the last ones that are like still like really like diehard physical gamers. Not all of us, but Switch is where I see so much of it, of people really still wanting to collect everything physical if they can, versus the real convenience of it on like PlayStation and Xbox, and those communities seeming to be leaning much more heavily towards the convenience factor versus me wanting to have a million little cases, on my bookshelf.
Right.
You're right, Micah. I actually like the red PlayStation 2 greatest hits label. I
I
like the color.
love them so much.
I like the color. The color is pleasant. It's actually a good contrast to the red. The design looks good. I think I don't like the greatest hits like usually label. Like PlayStation 1 was ugly because that was like
the green,
like super lime green. That was terrible. So that's why when the PS2 came out, I was like, oh, thank God, this is good. And then even the PS3 versions, they would have the red case, which is such a waste of money, but whatever. PlayStation had a good thing going in terms of what the greatest is. Like, I actually thought the PS4 one looked ugliest because then it's like regular PS4, but then underneath they'll say greatest hits. I'm like, come on, I know. It looks like a sticker for the nice price for an old CD or something,
Yeah, the great value.
Yeah, the great value
version.
Yeah, great value God of War 2018.
Right. Let's talk a little bit about screens and resolution. So I mentioned this last time we talked about the screen, but just to compare some sizes, the original Switch screen is a 6.2 inch, Switch OLED 7 inch, and now we're getting a whole extra inch here and a pretty big resolution increase from 720p to 1080p on the screen. The Mobapad article doesn't mention anything about what type of screen, but previous reports were saying that it was not an OLED, that it would be an LCD. I think there's probably a few factors around this. I think price is going to be a big thing for Nintendo just because they insist on making their consoles profitable right out the gate. And so that might be part of it. And there's still a possibility, though I kind of think it's pretty low, that it could be a higher frame rate screen as well, whether it's 90 hertz like the Steam Deck OLED or maybe even 120. And the last thing to consider too, and maybe this is copium from me, but I would assume that a lot of LCD screen technology has improved since the original Switch in 2017. And so when they're looking at things, they're like, yeah, it is LCD, but the technology has gotten a lot better. It's maybe not OLED good, but it's not going to be as big as a trade-off as some people think when they...
The PS Portal screen looks great, actually,
Yeah. So we'll have to see about that, but I wanted to ask you guys about the dock being able to output 4K. This is one of the biggest question marks in my mind. We've talked about the possibility of NVIDIA-based upscaling for the Switch 2, what that looks like, but I just wonder if this little guy can handle 4K and how powerful the upscaling would be. Micah, I know this wouldn't appeal to you too much as a handheld person, but you can even talk about the screen as well. Do you feel like the boost to 1080p might be worth it, or are you good with 720?
No, I am definitely ready for an upgrade. As I mentioned, playing Xenoblade Chronicles 2 right now, and being a bit surprised at just how poorly it looks at times. And it's just one of those things of like, man, this really does need an upgrade. I never upgraded to the OLED Switch. I'm kind of happy I didn't now, because if that's not going to be the default on the next Switch, it's like, well, I don't want to feel like I'm taking a step back with a brand new console, right? But it is certainly time for an upgrade. I'm not a graphics snob by any means, but even I look at some of these titles and say, this could look a lot better. Playing something like Unicorn Overlord recently, which just has gorgeous colors and the animations during the battles are just so pretty. And then saying, but I know it looks better on other consoles, right? I don't think the Switch 2 is going to be a direct competitor for, PlayStation 6, let's say, but it definitely needs to close the gap a little bit. So if we can just get closer to what's considered acceptable in these modern times we're living in, I'm going to be happy with it. Switch will always be a place for me to play primarily like my pixel art type games, your Octopath Travelers, Tactics Ogre, all these type of games that I just love gorgeous pixel art. So I don't need it to be as crispy as the sprite from McDonald's, but I do just want it to look the best that it can. And I want it to look better than it does on a console that's from 2017. So I'm ready for an upgrade. Graphics are not the most important thing to me, but I definitely am seeing the Switch's age more and more, as this year goes on, where we thought we'd already potentially be talking about like concrete things about the new Switch or even having it this year. The farther away that we get from actually having the next device, the more I say, man, I really want to see what it is and get something different. So this would be very welcome news to me, to have an actual, like, yes, we're going to make it look better. We're going to focus on graphics a little bit more. I know the style of like Nintendo first party games doesn't necessarily need it to have like the best resolution. And that's might sound like a cop out, but it's true with like cartoonish graphics and everything. Like it's going to look pretty good regardless. But I'm still ready to see them actually put some effort into upgrading like the graphics and everything for us.
Right. I question about the 4K output, and I think that in my estimation, what I would imagine that it's going to be like for the docked mode is that your your UI, hopefully, so like the Switch menus and stuff like that, can be in 4K. I would imagine with this thing being potentially a modest upgrade over the Switch 1 is that theoretically games could run at an internal resolution of 1080p, especially because that's the outside screen that we were just talking about, Micah. A 1080p, and then the real question is that how good could this potential NVIDIA upscaling be? Because if it's like the counterpart on PC, you can upscale something from 1080p to 4K and have it look really nice. And so maybe that's the ideal. I would temper any expectations that this thing is going to do native 4K outside of some pixel based indie type games. But Gina, I don't know what your TV setup is like or how you primarily play Switch, but I'm docked, I would say most of the time, probably 80% of the time on my Switch. And one of the things I do notice now more and more, being that I have a 4K 65-inch, that there are some games that just aren't looking so hot. And even just a 4K output, so the TV wasn't doing the upscaling from 1080 to 4K would be a big deal. So would you be happy with a little more emphasis on 4K?
Well, this actually reminds me, I forgot to mention also, I was so desperate for 60 frames Breath of the Wild back in 2017 that I actually set my TV to smooth motion.
Oh, yeah.
Cinema motion. Just to trick my eyes and brain to the thing that Zelda is moving at a very, very smooth frame rate. And it kind of worked. And then the input lag was horrible. It was fucking terrible. I'm pressing jump, and then I can say jump, and then Link will jump. Like, oh, so that's why, kids, you do not turn off cinema smooth motion on your TV, because that's just not the way to play a video game. You got to play in 30 FPS. It's a lot more responsive that way. what was the question again? Do we think it's going to be 4K? Well,
Oh,
my TV setup right now is a 55-inch TV, 4K. I do play mostly on handheld, but if I am like mainlining a Switch game, then I'll start docked, and then like as I'm like kind of winding down and like heading to bed, then I'll just like lift it up and go mobile and just play in bed or whatever. But a lot of times I'm usually just playing a good chunk on a Switch on handheld because it just makes a lot more sense. And like the Switch graphics are pretty ugly, so the mobile screen actually like disguises a lot of it. Like you hear that all the time on Digital Foundry, where it's like, oh well, the LOD or blah 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 isn't as good, but the small Switch screen hides it well, and that's what I find to be true. I usually don't have a problem with it. Xenoblade Chronicles 2 is an exception because that ran so poorly. The maximum output for on a Switch is 720p, but then that thing runs at like 360p, I think. Even it just tanks like down to like half resolution. That's crazy. So yeah, I don't know, just more pixels, whatever. I don't know. Even if it was just outputting the fucking 1080p on a TV, that'd be totally cool. Who cares? 1080p looks fine still. It's still 1080p is still HD.
yeah.
I don't even know what 8K could possibly offer. Um, I guess I'm sure. Well, by the time we look at it, and our eyes will adjust, and it'll be like, oh my god, it's so much more clearer. But like what's next? 12K? What the fuck is
12K,
that then?
30K, who knows?
Yeah. Yeah, it feels like the fucking Super Nintendo, the console wars of TVs. It's like 8-bit, 16-bit, 32-bit, 64-bit, and we just lost track. So
Yeah.
are we going to lose track of the Ks now too?
Yeah, we kind of are at the point where we're seeing major diminishing returns on resolution. And that's the thing. If Nintendo, like I said, I don't need native 4K, but at the very least, 4K output. And like 4K HUDs, stuff like that, 4K menus, just because if I'm not
4K
mistaken,
menus, yeah, please.
the Switch home screen is outputting 720p.
It is. It's so fuzzy. All that beautiful art on the games, and they're just like all,
Right. Last thing that we'll touch on here is just about the concern of longevity already for a new console. And this comes from Lauren E, who says, "Hello, friends. With the rumors putting the power of the Switch 2 around the power of the Steam Deck, which is almost 2.5 years old now, made me think about how long the Switch 2 until the Switch 2 is underpowered. My question is, could you see Nintendo putting a 120 hertz screen on Switch 2? That way devs can lock their games at 30, 40, 60, and for indies 120. I feel that can help the hardware not age as quickly. Love what you guys do." So, yeah, there is some reporting on this. I've heard stuff like, I believe it's Moore's Law is Dead. Some of his reporting was about how this console has been kind of ready to go for quite a while now, but with the success of the current Switch and not wanting to kill that momentum, and just seeing how the market has progressed, they've kind of held off on it. And so this hardware has aged kind of before it even came out. So I don't know, Micah, is that a concern for you about this thing coming out and kind of being unimpressive?
I think it's going to be relative because in my mind, I'm going to be strictly comparing it to the current Switch. It'd be really difficult for this to not feel somewhat impressive, just given how old my Switch is. I'm still playing the original one that I bought. So it will be a definite upgrade. But I totally agree that at a certain point, you're going to say, well, this thing clearly was made and ready in 2023, let's say, and you can tell that they could have done more to it if they wanted to, blah, blah, blah. I agree with those criticisms that, yeah, if this thing has been ready to go for a while, it's like, well, technology only keeps getting exponentially better. It just the timeline of how things improve is so fast moving, and what you're able to do with games now, it will probably feel again like Nintendo is lagging behind. I don't actually think Nintendo is ever going to catch up to being on the same level as Xbox and PlayStation in terms of the power of their consoles. I don't think we're ever going to get a generation where all three consoles are truly comparable. I think Nintendo is always going to just be in the lagging behind in a sense. I'm going to be happy with their games, and as we mentioned, they're not typically doing things like Last of Us Part 2 with very realistic faces and realistic environments, right? Like that's not the type of games I'm playing on Nintendo, so what they're able to accomplish is fine. But I agree that there are definitely going to be people, if you're comparing all the consoles together, Nintendo probably will feel already outdated by the time it's out. I just have to frame it for me as, well, I'm comparing it to the previous Switch that I've been playing the shit out of this whole time, and I'm not concerned in that respect that it's going to feel like, oh, this isn't worth the upgrade. This isn't going to be fun to play on for the next few years. But if I hold it up to a PS5, no, I wouldn't expect to be too impressed by that.
Right. I think that part of the concern, because Nintendo has always been, well, not always, but since the Wii kind of been a step behind, or like a generation behind in terms of its power. And for Nintendo first and second party, they've just always designed their games around that power. And that's been fine. I mean, we look at games like Tears of the Kingdom, while it is not necessarily a high performance, it's a beautiful game nonetheless. And even look at a game like Mario Odyssey or something like that. Beautiful in its own right for what it's trying to achieve. But I could see the concern being around third party. We talked last episode about Gio Corsi being brought on as their new like a third party relations type guy. And I just wonder if that's a concern. And I want to ask you, Gene, because Gene, you're the member of the group who does go and play third party games on Switch despite their performance related things. So
Yeah, I have to defend Witcher 3 from Micah.
That's right. Go for it.
Yeah, I mean, I played the entirety of Witcher 3 on the Switch. It was great. I did. Here's the thing: the Switch version has cross save with the PC version. If you guys didn't know.
Oh, interesting.
Yes. So you can start your game on the PC and just mod it up. Just load your Geralt up with all kinds of goodies, and then just cross save it over to Switch, and then boom. I started a new run on the Switch with 999,999 gold, and like
that doesn't count.
Like all the best shit. Yeah, but I still played. I still played all through it. I still played through all the story, you know. But I wasn't going to suffer through all the fucking fetch quests on the Switch. So yes,
suffer, Gene. The Witcher 3 is a delight. All right, I beat it 2 times through, doing all the Witcher contracts, all the monster hunting stuff. I did all of that stuff twice. I started a third playthrough, got halfway through it.
Dustin,
I need to finish that.
Dustin hasn't played The Witcher 3.
I've played a lot of it.
But you haven't finished it. Wow.
Kind of a
slog, isn't it?
I got it, dude. With games like this, I have to preface and say, for me, even though that should be obvious, kind of boring. Kind of a boring game.
You gotta
what? Have the taste for it. Yeah, you like if you're not hooked immediately by like we're looking for Ciri and where is she, like, you know, if you're not immediately hooked by the premise, I can totally see that because it's a huge game. But I got into it because of the Game Awards that year, and they had a big sale on it. And I was like, all right, I'll try this out. Never played Witcher anything in my life. And I just was immediately like, who is this? I'm into it. Monsters, demons, we're fighting everything. Like that would just, it put its hooks in me so quickly. But it's a huge game. If you're not immediately invested in the story, it's not worth it.
And you tried it a couple years later, right? When did you try it, Dustin?
Well, I tried it a little bit at launch, but I bought it on PC and my PC was just not doing a very good job at the time. So it wasn't, I want to say this was like 3 years ago. And I want to say I don't know, maybe halfway through the game, maybe 60%.
Look, people don't want to hear it, but The Witcher 3 hasn't aged that well, you know? Like that's what I'm saying, you know? Like if you ask me which is the better game, Cyberpunk or Witcher 3, I'm going to say Cyberpunk.
Mm.
You know, I don't know if that's controversial, but because a lot of people still think that Cyberpunk is a buggy, janky mess, which is not. And it was a good game at launch. It was just a buggy, janky mess on the consoles. PC was fine. But even if you want to ask me, what's even the better RPG? Even Cyberpunk
Whoa.
actually offers more role playing, more statistics, more like build quality,
Well,
more
I'm
choices,
sorry.
more
I'm sorry you
decisions.
can't choose
Yeah.
Geralt's penis in The Witcher 3. All right, they didn't let you do that. I'm sorry,
Yeah.
but you just have to imagine it. You have to just imagine what's there.
That's
That's
not
true.
hard.
That's true. Yeah. Well, I mean, obviously, it's in Cyberpunk. I'm not even accounting like the customization options for Cyberpunk, right? Um, but yeah, Witcher 3, I think it hasn't aged that well. It's still a great game. Obviously, I loved it too. And I played it at launch, and I was like, oh my god, I wish every RPG was like this. And then after a while, you play it and say, okay, well, maybe first of all, every RPG is starting to become like The Witcher 3, and so that's kind of an issue. And then like yeah, it just hasn't aged that well. The quest design is a little slow. Like like you really have to slog through some quests. A lot of it is just like traveling from here and there. It's a lot of talking, and the combat isn't that good. So
That's it. The
Oh
combat.
no,
yeah,
no! The combat is fantastic, you guys.
I
You
like
guys are
I
killing
like the
me with this
combat.
one.
I
The
love the
combat's the best part
animations.
of the
I
game.
love I love the fact that he's like slicing things up. Like it's cool. Like I love like the animations. I think it looks cool, and it really wowed me back in the day. But I get it. Like if you don't like the combat, then like it's really gonna be hard to keep you engaged from like moment to moment because a lot of the game is just combat. A lot of the questing is you go here and then you fight some stuff. And then so if you're okay with that, then like I was and like Michael was, then yeah. But if it doesn't really connect, then it's been tough.
No, and I will note, having gone back and played like Witcher 2, which is much more like the battles there are much more slower paced. It feels more like a Souls game in a
Mm-hmm.
lot of ways
It sure
because like
does.
you
Yes.
have to be much more careful.
Mm-hmm.
That in for someone like Dustin, Witcher 2 might be the more engaging
It
experience
it actually
because the
might be.
combat you really have to get invested in it and it really is more the system of dodging and things
Mm-hmm.
like that,
You
using your stamina like
using your potions, like you really had to think like a Witcher. Like, oh, like I
oh
gotta
yeah.
use this potion, I gotta use that potion, I gotta throw this shit at them. It was
Yeah,
a little
exactly.
crazy. Yeah.
Much more strategic in
Mm-hmm.
Witcher 2, which I still really hope that they will redo at some point because it's a fantastic game, like story-wise, but the style of it, I think a lot of people would like that even better. If you're a fan of Souls games,
Mm-hmm.
Witcher 2 would be much more up your alley than Witcher 3, which I think the combat is simplified. I liked it a lot. I
Mm-hmm.
enjoyed it more than Witcher 2 because the combat for me was more fun, but they're two completely different styles, really.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think the thought of having to use a bunch of potions actually sounds worse to me.
Yeah.
Oh no, it's more like it's quick, doesn't like it'll be
Yeah.
things like they'll tell you they'll be like, get this potion so that you can fight this guy easier. All
It's
right.
Mm.
And it's just one of those like throw the potion at him with your little RB button or whatever and it's just adding on to the fight. Or it'll be things like, oh, you're in a dark cave, you gotta use the cat eye
Mhm.
potion.
Yeah,
I mean
exactly.
it's not like crazy in depth, but
Mhm.
it definitely feels slowed down compared to Witcher 3 with like the speed of combat and how careful you have to be.
I can see
Yeah.
how that doesn't sound attractive too, because then if when you're making you're crafting the potions, so like a big part of the game is you're gonna have to fucking craft, like prepare for it. But it's fun when you actually figure out like, oh, I got this potion and I got that potion and now I can do this fight, and then like you figure out that fight. But yeah, it is definitely like a much more engaging combat system. Then like The Witcher 3, you can like bump the combat difficulty up, and then like that's where it will start. But then the controls are kind of sucky, and then blah blah blah. So
Yeah.
like the controls for The Witcher 2 was actually better, right? Like the combat system is actually like it feels like Witcher 2 is like built around the combat, whereas like Witcher 3 is like not at all built around the combat at all.
I think
Like
you're
just
gonna
like
make
the
Micah's
combat was
head
just part
explode.
like the combat was just like part of the flavor text, right? Oh, I'm sorry, Dustin. What are you saying, Dustin?
I was saying I think you're gonna make Micah's head explode
Yeah.
if you keep going here.
I'm gonna go get my Witcher sword out of the closet and I'm just gonna hack my computer in half.
I mean, yeah, Micah probably represents most of their player base. Like
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
they probably want to kill both of us by now.
You
dude,
can't see it, but like I have my Leshen statues up on the top of this bookcase. Like
Oh,
there's
yeah.
the Leshen statue, like the limited edition one they had, and then I have the Leshen pop figures because he's my favorite monster. Like, and I have Geralt in the bathtub. He's up there too. You can't see any of this on camera, but he's there, watching always.
Gary, he's hanging out. He's watching with his cock out. Well, maybe. I don't know. Do you see his penis ever in the game?
There's definitely somebody's dong is in the game. I don't know if you see Geralt's, but I feel like no. You know, what? I'm thinking of Grand Theft Auto 5. Like, so somebody's hanging dong, but I'm
Someone's
thinking of
hanging dong.
GTA 5
I don't know.
was I think the first time I see it. Well, no, it was Manhunt. Also by Rockstar, but Manhunt.
Rockstar's not afraid to hang dong.
Did you guys play Manhunt?
No.
No.
I know about it, but I never played it.
Yeah, the last boss, he just has his dick out.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Maybe I should play Manhunt.
Yeah, no, it's a fuck. Spoilers, I guess. But the last boss is actually like he is like trying to stealth kill you.
Oh.
And then you're trying to shadows. So both of you are trying to stealth kill each other. But then he's stalking the hallways, and he just has his fucking big ass dick out, and it's just like as he's walking the hallways, you just see his dick like swinging, like it's fucking rad. And you had to go up to him and fucking stab him in the fucking neck. It's sick.
Yeah.
Manhunt is dope. And that shit was for the Wii.
Was for the Wii. Yeah,
was
big
for the Wii.
controversy. Well, I guess that is it for our Switch 2 rumor roundup. Let us know what you think, what you're excited for, what you hope is true or isn't true. Also, this is an aside, guys. Sorry, if you saw me distracted by my phone for a moment during that segment, I was getting many messages from Holly at the same time, and I was like, oh shit, something's wrong. Turns out she's at Aldi, and she was asking me if I wanted a grill scrubber.
Oh, hell yeah.
Which I'm going to tell her, it's this $4 grill scrubber. I'm like, babe, just get the grill scrubber. It's $4. If I don't want it, I'll put it in my ass or something. I don't know. Like it's
$4.
It's $4. Get the grill scrubber.
No, that's the way to go. I have like the Citrasafe spray, and they're like scrubby pads, and it just makes cleaning the grates so much easier. In between, like using like the brush, that's just fantastic.
I got to deep clean my grill. I didn't do it at the end of last season, and so it's a little. It's not funky, but it's like, yeah, it needs done. So I gotta
that
deep
Citrasafe spray, and like it's like completely non-toxic. You use it when the grill is cold. You just spray that on the grates. You can spray it like on like the inside of the grill. It just cuts down on grease and everything, but it works so well. Like it works best with a like scouring pad versus like a metal brush. But you use it with that, and then like wipe it down with like wet paper towels or like a wet cloth after. Like it works surprisingly well for being like a natural like lemon based cleaner. Yeah. I recommend it to everybody because you can clean the grill while it's cold. Usually it's like really difficult to get anything stuck on off except when the grill's hot. But with this, like you spray it all down before you use the grill and wipe it down, and it's fantastic.
I was wondering like what spray I should use, so I'll pick this up. It's on Amazon, $7.
I'm a huge fan. Like I use it every season. I deep clean the grill maybe like once a month, and like at the end of the season. So I'm very meticulous about grill care, and this is my favorite product.
Imagine if Punching Up was sponsored by Citrasafe. This episode's brought to you by Citrasafe. That would be...
We'd be swimming in it. I'd love that.
Guys, let's move on to number 2. This one's kind of not a weird one, but just, Nintendo continuing to be Nintendo. Nintendo's kind of trying to take down quite a few user mods on Gary's Mod, the popular PC game. This comes from the Steam News Hub for Gary's Mod. There was a post there that said, quote, "Some of you may have noticed that certain Nintendo-related workshop items have been taken down. This is not a mistake. The takedowns came from Nintendo. Honestly, this is fair enough. This is Nintendo's content, and what they allow and don't allow is up to them. They don't want you playing with that stuff in Gary's Mod. That's their decision. We have to respect that and take down as much as we can. This is an ongoing process as we have 20 years of uploads to go through. If you want to help us by deleting your Nintendo-related uploads and never uploading them again, that would help us out a lot." So the Gary's Mod creator, Gary Newman, confirmed on Twitter these takedowns are from Nintendo. And just as a note, they said 20 years of uploads. there are over 350,000 Steam Workshop items for Gary's Mod that you can add to the game. So quite a few here. And again, this is not very surprising. This reminds me of when with Power World that someone made the actual Pokemon characters that you could put in the game, and they quickly took that down. And I wonder if that was kind of an instigator for them to be like, there is quite a few people out there using Nintendo assets in these various mod platforms. So I don't know if there's a lot to talk about here, but I'll go around quick. Micah, you can't use Luigi's butthole anymore in Gary's. I don't know what kind of mods are there. I'm assuming there's some whack shit. Maybe not butthole. That might be a bit much, but you can't make your fantasy Nintendo characters reality in Gary's mod anymore. Do you think it's okay for Nintendo to go after just some non-paid mods in this situation?
Well, what surprises me the most is hearing the name Gary's Mod, because for a second I was like, oh, am I back in high school? I haven't heard anyone talk about this in so long. I was like, this is still a thing. Like, that's my ignorance, but it's hysterical to me that we're talking about this, because I'm like, Gary's Mod. I'm like looking around like, am I back in math class right now? It's tricky because, yeah, when you say like, oh, they're free, nobody's actually like paying for these. If that's the situation, it feels a little petty, because, what we talked about on the last show of like the guy who was selling, save states and whatnot. And it's like, yeah, the money is usually where the problem lies. The problem with, Yuzu is like the Patreon and helping people add pirated games. Like, the problem is the money, generally speaking. But, it's one of those, if they had, let's say, Nintendo characters doing unsavory things, etc., then it doesn't feel quite so ridiculous, even if it's not something that's generating income, even if it's something that's just free to download and use. If they had terrible things in there, I'd say Nintendo has a right to protect the appearance of their characters and all that stuff.
Yeah. Gene, I was wondering because, as Mike is saying, Nintendo has the right to protect their IP, of course, but I always wondered to like what extent, just because, yeah, they own these characters, but are they going to go to every Etsy shop that has a Nintendo related branding? Are they going to go to fan art sites that has maybe slightly unsavory things that they don't want on here? Like something like Gary's Mod, as Micah said, this is a game. Yeah, I'm sure there's still a lot of players, but it's kind of old at this point, but they're taking the initiative to go and take these things down. It almost feels a little extreme.
My answer is actually related to the next question, so maybe you can move
okay
on to that too.
Perfect.
Yeah, it's a good segue into that one.
Yeah, good segue. So number 3 is Samus Aran, almost in Fortnite. Did I get Samus right and not Samus? It's something I get comments about.
It's Samus, right?
Dude, okay.
Like whoever the fucking Smash people do it, but yeah, I think it's Samus. Yeah,
I'm pretty sure in Brawl they said Samus, and that was the game.
They did, yeah. I'm pretty sure they did it in one of the fucking Smashes.
In one of them, they said Samus.
It fucked it up for all of us. So.
Oh, I mean, it just reminds me of the Naruto games, where there's one of them where this like it's a side mission to help this like ramen shop owner, but he calls you Naruto. And he's like, Naruto. And it's like, that's not even close. It's not even close. Like, you really just had all these voice actors come in and you couldn't get them all to say it the same. Like, there's one guy calling you Naruto. Like, it's just like, come on, man, have some consistency. Mm-hmm. But it's like, I can't blame people when they get it wrong, because what if that was your only introduction to it? If that's all you knew, that's how you're going to say it.
I can hear the voice in my head saying, like, Samus
Aran. Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
like Samus Aran. So I got the last name wrong.
I sort of got that fucking voice existed somewhere. Yeah.
Samus Aran. Okay, Samus Aran. That's the correct one. Okay, so Samus, almost in Fortnite. This was originally leaked in the Epic versus Apple trial from a few years ago, but Epic's former CCO Donald Mustard confirmed that they were talking to Nintendo about adding her as a skin in the game. This is a report from, or an interview with GameFile. The quote is, they, as in Nintendo, got hung up on their characters showing up on platforms that weren't their platforms, ellipsis. they'd be thrilled to have a Fortnite, Nintendo characters in Fortnite, but only if it's on their platform. So Nintendo says, yeah, you can have her, but you can't be playing or seeing her in PlayStation, Xbox, or PC, wherever Fortnite is, maybe even mobile. Just not possible. This reminded me immediately of Minecraft, which I believe there are Nintendo exclusive skins, but I'm not sure actually, now I think about it, whether or not those are viewable in other games when you're doing cross multiplayer. I'll have to check on that while I throw this over to Eugene. But this is just kind of some more flavor here from Kasdan Risk, who says, hey, Brick Dumpers. It was revealed that Fortnite almost had a Samus Aran skin, but Nintendo's rule was that the outfit had to be Switch exclusive, which Epic denied. Was this the right move for Nintendo's brand, or would it have been better to go ahead and let Metroid crawl into the Battle Royale? Let Metroid, but her name's not Metroid. See, more naming issues. PlayStation and Xbox had Kratos, Master Chief. Why can't we have Waluigi shoot Chun-Li in the head? Take care. Gene, I know you had some thoughts about branding overall in general, so what are you thinking here?
I found the answer. Mario is only viewable on the Nintendo and Switch version.
So for Minecraft?
Yeah, for Minecraft. So
does it just show up? I would imagine it's just a default skin if you're playing.
No, someone's like, why is it not showing up on my Xbox? And it's like, because it's on Xbox, buddy. So that's exactly what happened. So the answer is because Nintendo does not want you to think of Samus Aran as, oh, that's Samus Aran from Fortnite. That is a huge brand risk for them. They do not want their characters to be associated with anything else other than, oh, that is Samus Aran by Nintendo. So they do not want to be like, oh, look, Master Chief from Fortnite, or oh, John Wick from Fortnite, or oh, Marvel from Fortnite. None of that stuff. No. Nintendo is very, very protective. They want their characters to be associated with Nintendo. So that's why Mario only shows up on the Nintendo system. If you're playing Samus Aran, then you're already locked in. You're in the Nintendo ecosystem. You're in the garden already. So that's fine. Once you leave, you're not going to see Samus out there, because you're not going to see Samus Aran as seen in Gary's mod, or as Samus Aran as seen in Fortnite. That's pretty much what it is. You know, they want you to see their characters on their platform. And you know, along with this, it's the metaverse. You know, Fortnite won't allow that because they want. That's not an agreeable position for Epic Games, because Epic Games wants everything to be able to speak to each other. And then so if they're only locking away one piece of content on one platform, then that just breaks the entire concept of what Tim Sweeney is trying to do, which is develop the metaverse, develop the foundation of the metaverse, and then make Unreal Engine and Fortnite so pervasive and so everywhere on the internet and in entertainment that everything would be connected somehow to like Unreal Engine and the Epic Games like metaverse, you know. But Nintendo doesn't want to play that. To their credit, maybe, you know, because depending on how you feel about the metaverse, and just the explosion of brands and mascots and IP that's just all over the 3D internet that might come to be. But yeah, that's pretty much what I think where Nintendo's head is at.
Yeah, it's a tough one. I feel like if any company is big enough with their biggest characters being so prevalent in pop culture, I feel like Nintendo is one of the few companies that get away and be like, yeah, we don't need to be a part of that. We don't want to. Because you think about how much of a boost it is for like Aloy to be in Fortnite. I mean, Aloy is nowhere near probably even the lowest level Mario character. Sorry. So that's a big boost for her. But
yeah, she's not even anywhere close to like Yoshi or something. Maybe Boshi. Maybe Boshi. Yeah. Aloy versus Boshi. Yeah, could be a real a poll there. So,
dude, I want to get the Boshi sunglasses in Fortnite.
For sure.
You know, that'd be kind of rad.
Shit, what are you saying? Okay, keep going. You.
I was gonna throw this over to Micah. But so, Micah, I'll ask you. Fortnite big with the kids. I could see this both ways. I totally see Jane's point, but I also
real quick. Yeah. So what I was going to say is you see what company with a lot of recognizable characters and IP is playing along with Fortnite and is going all in on the Epic Games metaverse. It's Disney. So you see Spider-Man, you see Iron Man, you see Captain America, you see Thor, you see fucking Rey Skywalker, you see Darth Vader, you see the fucking X-Men, the X-Men Wolverine's in there too, you know? He's doing Berserker Barrage in Fortnite, right? But then you think about how oversaturated everything is in the Disney side, right? You think about Star Wars losing their audience, you think about Marvel losing their audience. People getting tired of seeing these fucking characters everywhere in the metaverse in Fortnite. And Nintendo's like, no, you're not going to get tired of Samus. In fact, we're never going to release another Metroid game for 10 years, probably. So deal with that, you know? But that's a true test of a Nintendo fan, you know? Can you survive long enough for them to come up with another good game, another good Metroid game? Who knows?
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing about the character, like specifically it being Samus, in that if any Nintendo character IP could use the boost of being Samus from Fortnite, you know, or the character from Fortnite, it could be that, because as we know,
should be perfect for Fortnite.
Yeah. Metroid games haven't always sold to Nintendo's standard. And so having a bunch of Fortnite kids get interested in the character might be beneficial. I don't know. Do you think there's another angle to this, Micah?
What comes up when I hear you guys talking about it, because definitely when Gene talks about the oversaturation of Disney, you know, IP, for example, and Nintendo is very clear, like, you get our stuff here. You get our stuff through official sources, whether it be the Mario movie, whether it be like our games on our consoles, like you get our stuff here. And you're not going to, just say, oh yeah, that's the character from Fortnite. You're going to know it's the character from XYZ. I think in some ways it does hurt them, because there probably is an angle in which you get more people interested in these games because they'll see it in Fortnite. But then the flip side of that is, I know some Fortnite kids and it's the only thing they fucking play, and they don't want to play anything else. And like, they're like, oh sweet, you put Naruto skins in here, I'll play, you know, and they just don't, they're not going to go seek out Naruto games because they played Naruto in Fortnite. They're just going to be like, oh yeah, this is where you play it. So is it to Nintendo's benefit to put characters in there? Potentially. But I think part of this is the Fortnite like hardcore crowd itself, much like the hardcore like Call of Duty and Battlefield kids. Like, for a lot of these players, it's the only game they play. It's what they dedicate 90% of their gaming time to, so that they can be really good at it. So are they actually going to go out and seek out other experiences just because they played as a certain skin? I don't really think so. I also just see Nintendo being protective of what you're allowed to do with their characters. Mm-hmm. You look at something like Mario versus Rabbids, and he's got like the blaster, and it's more like a Mega Man arm than anything. And because it's like, no, we're not giving Mario a rifle. All right, we're giving him a little zap zap blaster. But it's you know, it's friendly and not intimidating, versus giving Luigi an assault rifle. Nintendo's like, no, we're not doing this. So I feel like the stipulations that they would put on their characters to not be viewed in this, Fortnite is colorful and, you know, approachable for all ages, but it's violent. That's the nature of the game. It's what it is. And so Nintendo definitely, you know, often makes the games where it's like the killing is implied, or, oh, he's knocked out. You play something like Xenoblade Chronicles, and they're like, all right, he's knocked out. You know, it's like, you just obliterated this guy, and they're like, he's asleep. He's fine. We didn't kill anybody. All right? No. We don't kill people here.
Well, and I mean, to be fair, the Street Fighter 6 is actually going through that own issue right now, because they just debuted Akuma yesterday. And then in the background of Akuma's stage, there's this whole cemetery of hundreds of people, and it's all the people that Akuma has quote unquote destroyed. He hasn't murdered them. He hasn't killed them. He just destroyed them, and they're just and they're underground and no longer existing. They're not killed. They're destroyed.
It's the Yakuza issue of, oh no, Kiryu's never killed anybody. No, Majima kills people. The Kiryu, he doesn't kill people. No, he just defeats them. So
Yeah, or in
I
fucking
can
Spider-Man 2,
understand.
every time you knock someone off the roof, and then like it's like, oh, he just has a fucking spider ball attached to him, and it's just like,
Oh yeah, he's fine.
yeah,
That
he's
guy that
fine.
you just kicked off a 3-story building, fine,
Oh,
totally
yeah,
fine.
never mind that he's kicked off a 3-story building and then suddenly snapped against a concrete wall.
Mhm.
You know, he's fine. Yeah, no, totally, no bones broken, neck's fine, back totally okay.
Yeah, so I see Nintendo just being more protective of what you're allowed to portray their characters doing than some of these other companies. Because, yeah, in the Spider-Man games, they're like, he doesn't kill people. But you put him in Fortnite, and it's like, he kills people. Fine, whatever. It makes more sense for something like God of War, because, like, yeah, that guy's just murdering people. Kratos just killing people left and right. He doesn't care. But then I look at it from the angle of it makes Kratos look silly. It does make him look silly to have him in Fortnite. It's pros and cons. It's more visibility, but to me, it kind of waters down your characters a little bit because it's not like it's a PlayStation fighting game. It's not PlayStation's, Smash Brothers. It's Fortnite.
Mm-hmm.
It's not all PlayStation characters battling it out. It's just random shit from everywhere battling it out. So I can respect Nintendo for not watering down their characters and also for being protective of what they're allowed to be seen doing. I think in the long run it's a smart move because I don't really think you're going to sell more games having your characters in Fortnite. I just don't think the crossover is what people would say it would be.
Right. Yeah.
Mhm.
Like I said, I lean back on Nintendo is the company that can do it. That they're just like, yep,
Mhm.
we don't need this.
Yeah, they're fine.
Okay. I got 2 quickies for you guys. First of all, Universal Studios Japan has delayed the opening of the Donkey Kong Park in Japan. No longer spring 2024, but late 2024. They're getting the mechanics on the jumping roller coaster down pat, maybe increasing the frame rate. I don't know. We'll see how that pans out. But if you're planning a trip to Japan in the spring, you may not be able to check that out. So keep that in mind. Next one, just because it's relevant to the three of us as big fans of this game, Vampire Survivors put out a new free update that they call a quadruple A update. The laboratory update, some of the mechanics, immersive door opening, train mechanics, genre-defining kart racing, 7 achievements, 3 weapons, new stage and character, also some new like holiday-themed outfits and stuff like that. So pretty nice little free update for an insanely cheap game already. Just continuing to give more and more. So check that out. Available now.
Yeah, Vampire Survivors, like I feel like they outlap me. I don't know if I can keep up anymore.
Yeah.
I was really, really determined. Like, yeah, every single update, I'm gonna complete every single one. And after like the 4th update, I'm like, okay, I think I'm done.
It's just such a time sink. Not in a bad way.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
when I play it, I feel bad. I'm like, I could have put a lot of time into another game, and I'm still here just kind of doing this dopamine cycle.
A little bit, yeah. I start to feel like I'm really wasting my time after a while.
Yeah.
So,
No,
it's a great time waster, but yeah,
Yeah, like once you get the hang of how to actually progress and complete the stages, then it's like, okay, I'm not just wasting time, I'm doing something. Like, stop, I'm doing something. But then it's also the angle of like, when does it stop? Because half of it is like, it's just so fun. It is so fun. And it's like, I don't care if I completed it all, I just want to play more. Dustin, is it coming to PlayStation still? Is that already out?
It should be.
Yes. So I believe this update is kind of like before, because the tweet says out on PC, Xbox, Nintendo Switch, and mobile. The PlayStation version, though, is not out for a while, I think.
Summer. Yeah.
Vampire Survivor. So it's this summer.
It's because I have been waiting for Colin to try this game because I know he's gonna love it as just like a side game to play on the Portal and whatnot. Like I just know he's gonna be so into it. And I have just been dying for this to be on PlayStation.
It's gonna be a good Portal game, that's for sure.
Yeah, because it's like I play it and I'm like, he's gonna fucking flip out. Like this game is so good, he's gonna love it.
Yeah,
and it'll be one of those perfect games. Yeah, one of those perfect games to play like while you have a show on or whatever.
Yeah,
but I'm just like,
it's a perfect podcast game. He can listen to all of his sports support shows, watch all the games
Yes,
while he's playing the game. And there's also a very good checklist game. So and like a lot of the achievements are
exactly.
actually like dude, like he's gonna kill all the trophies. He's gonna have so much fun killing all the trophies. Actually, holy shit.
Moving on to what we're playing here. I'm gonna kick this off with a write-in to hand it off to Micah with what she's playing. Let's start with Mexican Zoidberg, who says, Micah, for the love of Paulantina's holy ass, play Xenoblade 2 in Japanese. This isn't Xenoblade 1 or Xenoblade 3, which have very competent English dubs. This isn't a voice acting problem. It's a voice direction problem. The voice direction is iffy, leading to a lot of awkward line deliveries. I'm not a sub versus dub elitist either. 99% of the time, I prefer dub for both anime and video games, given all the reading. In fact, I'm a bit ashamed to admit that I played the entirety of Xenoblade 2 in English. Even though the voice acting was immersion breaking for a lot of important cutscenes, I persisted on playing in English to avoid all the reading I'd have to do. But it wasn't until after watching the English versus Japanese comparisons on YouTube for all the important cutscenes did I truly regret my decision. I've played a shit ton of JRPGs in English, but this is the one where I think that is actually mandatory to play in Japanese to get the full effect of the story. Back me up, Gene. Much love, and have a yeah, like is that like a Link yeah kind of day? I don't know. So, Mike, you're playing Xenoblade Chronicles 2. How are you feeling about it? And are you playing it dubbed to Mexican Zoidbird's chagrin?
Yeah, I'm really enjoying it so far. I am playing it with the English voice cast because it's a lot of reading. I mean, when I played Xenoblade Chronicles 1, my initial reaction was, oh, they're British. I'm going to switch it to Japanese voices. But then seeing how much text I had to read, this has a lot of dialogue. I said, never mind. Read it to me. All right.
British acting is really, really good in part 1 too, anyways. So,
and it is good. Oh yeah, I wasn't knocking on it in terms of like it was bad acting. I just wasn't expecting it to be British, and it kind of threw me off, and it was almost silly because I was like, I just wasn't expecting this.
Do you know why?
Right? I had no idea they'd be British. Right.
Do you know why they're all British?
No.
because Nintendo of America didn't want to release Xenoblade Chronicles in the US. So
that's crazy.
So Nintendo of Europe had to handle all the localization, and that's why it's all just British. And so like every culture in Xenoblade Chronicles is like a different like dialect of the UK, which is interesting, you know.
Yeah, because now playing the second one and expecting it to be British, it was much more charming this time around because it wasn't silly. I was expecting it. But no, I'm gonna keep the English voices. Because I don't know what I'm missing. All right, I know nothing about this game. I'm going in completely blind, aside from knowing that Gene recommended it. So I don't have anything to compare it to. So far, I feel like the dialogue has been fine. So I am comfortable with this because I have no comparison to make. And I've played some shitty, translations of visual novels and stuff where it's very obvious, like that sentence didn't make sense. I haven't hit anything yet where I said that sentence was weird, that didn't make sense. I can appreciate that if you know what the original text was, that you might be disappointed in like this line doesn't have the emotional weight that it did in Japanese. This line doesn't convey the right tone. But I don't know what the Japanese, dialogue is. So I'm okay so far. I haven't hit anything that's made me say this dialogue is bad. This is a poor translation. And the voice acting is really good. Just talking about the game in general, number one thing, it is surprisingly funny. Like the first game had some humorous moments. This one, and I'm loving it. I don't feel like it's cheesy or like overdone. It's just genuinely funny. And they have moments that took me by surprise. Like it's just really well done. And the voice acting again is good.
Who's your
Conveys
favorite
the
character so
humor
far?
really well.
Who's your favorite character so far?
Oh, I mean,
Nia?
I really just I like Rex a lot.
Oh, Rex
I
is
think
great.
his facial expressions are great. They have some moments where your little Pon friend was named Tora, and like he was doing something silly and Rex is making a face, and like it's really well done. This
cute.
game is just it's cute, it's funny while being very serious. There was a moment pretty close to the beginning that I almost cried. It was just like this game has the emotional depth like nailed down of like there's a lot going on here. It's funny, it's sad, it's heartfelt. So I'm already enjoying that a lot.
Wow, that's good to hear.
Like in terms of humor, I wrote this down and no spoilers, but like there is a moment where they're discussing that like one of your people may be executed, okay? And they're like, we have to help, you know, this person's going to be executed. And then they make a joke about one of the people having a robot that's like in maid outfits. I mean, it's just like, and I don't mean it in the way that the humor is like subverting the weight of the story. It truly does just work. It just meshes with it very well. It doesn't take away from the heavy moment. It just you're not expecting it, so it's funnier. You know, it's not the feeling like we can't have anything serious. They have serious moments, but sometimes they hit you with a funny right in the middle of it, and it just hits you extra hard because you're like, I wasn't expecting that. So the story itself so far, really invested. I'm liking the shifts in tone between very serious and kind of lighthearted and silly. The visuals are where the game really suffers. It is genuinely surprising to me that this is a launch window game because it feels like it was already taxing the system. Like this is a game that came out when the Switch was new and it doesn't look great, and you'll be traversing a field full of enemies and it's like there's too much going on screen, so the frame rate just drops way down. Everything gets really pixelated in the middle of battles. If another enemy joins the battle, it slows way down.
This game was rushed to launch too, so that's why it has a lot of technical problems, because they really wanted to make it. They wanted it to be a launch game and they didn't make it. So but that's why Xenoblade Chronicles 3, like it's a much more complicated game, and it looks better and it runs better too, because they kind of fucked this one up. You know,
that's the thing, because it really took me by surprise to say, oh, this game shouldn't in theory be so taxing on the system. This is made when the system was new, but that's very insightful.
Yeah, and part one, the version you play came out later too. So that is when they were starting to like learn how to actually learn how to make the game run better.
Yes. Yeah, because I feel like the like pop in 2 is worse than
crazy.
In 1. You know, the draw, it's not like it was fantastic. In part 1, you would be going through a field and suddenly something just pops up beside you. That would happen. But in this game, it's even worse. So the visuals are the one knock that I have for it so far, because it feels like it's really testing the limits of the Switch when it shouldn't be. You know, it shouldn't be so taxing on the system. But aside from that, I'm really enjoying the combat system, which is easier, in my opinion, than the first game.
Wow.
A little less engaging to me, because, really? I mean, it gets really complicated if you want it to be, with the combo system and how you sync up with your party members. But the basics of choosing which commands to do is simpler to me than the first game.
It is. They did make it simpler. That's true.
It feels like definitely you can make this game as difficult as you want, though, if you really want to sync up with your party members and do like the ultimate attacks and everything. You have to time things correctly and make the right choices. But if you're the correct level to beat an enemy, you're not going to have too much trouble with them anyways. So it's kind of a trade-off of, are you going to level up and just be on the right level to beat these people? Or if you're a little underpowered, you can put in the extra brain power to make, you know, better choices during combat. It's a choice that you can make, and I like having that option. But in terms of being approachable, I feel like the combat in 2 is simplified, at least for just getting going in the game. And then you can make it more complicated if you want. But I'm really enjoying it. I'm 7 or 8 hours in right now, and it's really refreshing to play after Unicorn Overlord, which I loved. Finally beat the game, but it was ready to be done with it. This now being completely different combat gameplay style, it's like a breath of fresh air right now. I'm just having a great time with it.
Nice. Yeah, that was one. I had checked that out around the Switch launch, but as you guys know, I'm not super into Xenoblade, but I'm glad you guys are into it, and many listeners of the show are happy about the Xenoblade representation. So
I don't want to. I'm definitely not going to say anything to back up what Mexican Zoidberg said, because Micah's having a good time, and I don't want to say anything that might even burst that bubble, like even like suggesting like oh, that might be better or whatever. Because if you're having a good time, then that's awesome. And honestly, like Nia is such a good voice performance. that
Oh, she
just
is. I love her.
yeah, like her little like accent and everything like that. She's such a good voice performance that she kind of almost makes up for any kind of like issues or anything like that that you might have because like yeah, and you're having fun. Like the voice cast is fun. Like they're really fun. They're really distinctive, really colorful, really fun. And if you're liking the story, then oh my god, yeah, like the early part of the story is probably the weakest part, and so like it's only going to get much better from here. So, do you know about
Oh,
auto attack canceling?
no.
So this one is a little different, where when Rex like swings his sword, and like when the sword actually hits the enemy, wiggle the left stick and move him a little bit, and then he'll swing it faster again the next time. He'll be like, whoosh, whoosh.
Oh.
So you're canceling the animation, so he doesn't hold the sword back. So like every time you wiggle him, he's always going. So like it's making him auto attack even faster. So that's
Okay.
a really good way to like build up his like special meter too. So
Yeah, because this is a game that is tutorial city.
oh my god,
Okay.
dude,
And
you
it's
you will get a tutorial at the final level. You will get a tutorial at the final level. The tutorials do not stop until the end of the game. The
yeah, and
entire game is a tutorial. It's crazy.
I just felt like I couldn't absorb any more information. Now that you say that, yes, I remember seeing a prompt come up about canceling. And it was to the point, though, that it's like, this is the 5th pop up during this battle. And I was just like, I can't absorb more information right now. And I was like, I'll go read about it later, in the little menus, right?
Read about it
Like in the
later.
glossary.
Watch a tutorial video on YouTube. That's exactly what I did. That's why I told you, like, when you get stuck, just fucking look it up on YouTube. It's fine, whatever. Because this game is a
Yeah.
little janky. So
And that, yeah, I will say when it comes to the voice acting, they definitely did not put enough dialogue options in the battles. Like there's one, you're fighting this soldier and he just keeps saying, take this, don't forget. And like he just says it over and over. And like it's for the whole, 3 minutes you're fighting, he just says, take this, don't forget. Like
yeah,
he just keeps, and I'm like, you could have given this guy a couple more lines,
Well, that was a
or just
meme-
make him shut up.
That was a meme in Xenoblade Chronicles 1 where what's his face is just saying, I'm really feeling it. I'm really feeling it, over and over
Yes.
again. Choke,
Exactly. And so they all have their little phrases,
Mhm.
but they gave the main cast a couple extra at least. But
Mhm.
when the people you're fighting might have like literally one phrase they say the whole time or 2 phrases.
Oh, man.
And if it's a longer battle, it's like 5 minutes of just the same phrase over
Yeah.
and over. And it's like, just stop. That was the only time I thought I might switch it to Japanese, just because it's like, well, it's not as annoying if I don't know what they're saying.
It is exactly way less annoying. The battle barks are way less annoying in Japanese because it just filters into
It's
the
just
background.
noises to me.
Yeah, it just becomes
Yeah,
a fighting game
it'll
at that
just
point.
be sounds.
Yeah. Man, you made me want to replay this game though. Shit, there's too much. Yeah, I miss Xenoblade Chronicles too.
Well, Gene, let's perfect transition. Let's switch over to you. What have you been playing?
Yeah, after Stellar Blade and all of this excitement over sexy ladies, I wanted to revisit Bayonetta 3. Bayonetta 3 came out at the end of 2022, right? In the fall of 2022. What else happened at the fall of 2022? I was getting ready for my surgery to get rid of my cancer. So it came out at a time where I was like very, very like stressed, to say the least, and very, very despondent and sad and depressed. And then so when I played it, I was already not feeling great, and then I hated it. I hated Bayonetta 3. The ending of the story was terrible. I couldn't believe it. I'm not one of those people who would be like, oh my god, they made Bayonetta not gay. I don't care about that. I just think that the actual story is just fucking awful, and it just made me like dislike the Bayonetta series. But I did like some of the gameplay. I did like Viola, the new spunky character that a lot of people hate. I actually liked her. She has kind of like a Looney Tunes like slapstick comedy vibe. Like she's basically Bugs Bunny in like the Bayonetta universe. And that's kind of funny to have like this little punk rocker girl like just be like a Bugs Bunny like Wile E. Coyote type character like in the Bayonetta universe. I like her like dodges and her counter attacks. Like her sword attacks are cool. So yeah, but Bayonetta 3 runs like shit, they've had updates where the regular moment-to-moment combat actually runs pretty good. It's actually running at a pretty decent 60 FPS. The boss battles, when things get crazy, then it does run like shit. And the cutscenes yeah, you definitely wish that the cutscenes were running at a much more better frame rate. You know, like it has no motion blur, and I'm someone who doesn't even like motion blur, but like it definitely feels like, you know, like the animations in Bayonetta 3 are like a little hang cranky, you know. But otherwise, I'm having a good time. It's an interesting battle system where you're able to control like kaiju like enemies in Bayo 3. And it feels like an extension of what they learned from Astral Chain, and they're kind of trying to simplify what Astral Chain was and then attach it to Bayonetta 3. So that's fun, but that's the stuff that taxes the system the most because you're controlling all these big monsters. And then there's all these puzzles that also involve a lot of these big monsters too, and those can be kind of annoying too. But you know, that's the Bayonetta series. Like all three of them have all their issues. None of them are perfect games. They all have like really really glaring flaws that when you get to the part, you're just like, oh fuck this fucking part again, you know. And then so I haven't really hit that part in Bayonetta 3 where like, you know, there was one level by Viola or whatever that was really really annoying where you're trying to find like water, and then it's just there's just like no indication of where to look or anything. But yeah, otherwise having a good time with that. It's been an interesting way to contrast it between Stellar Blade, which we'll talk about in a bit, right? I'm excited to hear what you have to say. Because, you know, when people are saying, oh, well, Eve has no personality. And I'm like, yeah, because Eve is a different character. And then that said, once you hop into Bayonetta 3, it's just like bursting with personality. She's just like splashing her face with her personality. Like she's just like trying to drown you in her personality. Every character is funny, interesting. They got a little quirk or anything like that. So yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I get the stark difference. You know, it's definitely like, here's a fun character and here's Eve, who's just kind of bland, a little bit tired. So yeah, just been playing Bayo 3 mostly on the Switch.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to read a write-in from Crapton Picard. Says, hi, breakfast. Well, dude, you gotta catch you off guard with that.
I didn't
Picard.
see that one in the notes. Like because I always review the notes for record. Like
Yeah.
I missed that one. I was not expecting it.
Well, initially I thought it was just a typo. And I was like, oh, that's Crapton Picard.
Mm-hmm.
So Crapton here writes, hi, Breakfasters. Just wanted to shout out a game I recently played that kind of blew me away with how good it was. Bayonetta Origins, Cereza and the Lost Demon.
You know
Bought
what?
this game on sale because I usually get most Nintendo exclusives. I had heard it was decent, but didn't pay much attention. Finally got around to playing it a few weeks ago, and it knocked my socks off. The game is incredible. Everything from the music and art style to the story and the unique gameplay. Just a fantastic way to spend 20 hours. Have you guys checked this game out? If not, I highly recommend it. Thanks, Mike.
Thank you, Crafton. I was actually thinking about doing that. I was actually thinking about hitting up that game after Bayonetta 3. I was like, you know what? Platinum did make another game, and I love Platinum games. I'm a fan through and through. You know, I love them when they're down and out or whatever like that. Until they're dead, I'm gonna be a fan. I didn't want to check it out because Platinum games are horrible writers. If you ask me which is a better game, Bayonetta or Stellar Blade, I'll say Bayonetta. If you ask me which has a better story, I will say Stellar Blade, actually. Because as fun as the Bayonetta story is, and the dialogue and the characters are fun, the story makes no fucking sense whatsoever. It is bullshit. And then that is never more apparent in Bayonetta 3. But I did hear that the Cereza game is actually written pretty well. I hear it actually has a pretty cool story. So yeah, you know what? I'm a little interested in diving into good Bayonetta lore. You know, I haven't experienced that, so thank you, Captain, for the reminder. I'm definitely gonna check it out. I'll pick it up on physical. It feels like a good game to just collect on physical too. You know.
Sure. Yeah. And I like these write-ins. We did that a little bit last episode too, of people just checking out something that sometimes we're maybe haven't checked out, or if you enjoy something, let us know. It's fun to read those off. Yeah,
that game completely flew under the radar. No one fucking talked about it. I mean, no one really talked about Bayonetta 3 too, except for like the people who were really into Bayonetta. But you know, even the people who were really into Bayonetta just completely fucking skipped this game. So, and including myself, and I feel bad about that. So, yeah, I'll check it out, man.
Yeah,
Well,
sounds
and
good.
on my side of things, like I'm not a Bayonetta fan really. I
Mhm.
remember seeing the initial like announcement for this game and being like, "Oh, this looks cool," and then it's like, "Oh, it's a Bayonetta game," and it's like, I don't know anything about that.
Mhm.
So I was just like, "I'll stay away,"
Mhm.
type deal, because I was like, "Well, this isn't in my wheelhouse," and maybe that's incorrect. But I remember seeing the announcement, and be like, "Oh, this looks pretty
It
cool."
might actually
I
be
don't
in
know
your
anything about
it might
this.
actually be in your wheelhouse because it's supposed to be the origin, the first story of Bayonetta too. So I think it's supposed to assume that we don't know anything about it. I hear it ends really well. I hear the
Hmm.
ending is cool. So
As for me, I am playing Stellar Blade right now. I'm already halfway through this game, according to my PlayStation completion percentage.
I'm excited to hear about it. Did you talk about Summon Sign too?
Yes. Yeah,
Okay,
talked about it.
so all throughout this week is like the evolution of Dustin's Stellar Blade journey. It's
Yeah.
fascinating. Yeah.
Yeah, because I texted you, Gene. I'm like, man, the beginning of this game is kind of fucking boring. And you're like, yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah. At the beginning of the game, that's when, and I failed to mention that I gave the game 3 out of 4 stars, right, on Summon Sign. But
mhm.
I gave the game 3 out of 4 stars. But at the beginning hours that you're talking about, the game was sitting at 2.5 stars. I was like, yeah, sure, whatever, But yeah,
Yeah, it does a good job. The main thing that I've been impressed with is that it does a really good job drip feeding you new mechanics and new
mm,
ways to evolve the gameplay, which I really appreciate. And just I like that there's a mix of like the first section that I talked about was all linear. Then you get to kind of this hub city, and
mhm,
after that, it's a more open world style level with side quests, stuff like that. And
mm,
once you're kind of done with that area, you move into another linear level, which is cool.
mm.
And then you go to the next level after that is a bigger open world thing, and that's where I'm at
Oh, you're
currently.
already
Is
there. Okay, yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
So I'm on the second open world style level,
Mm,
and the combat is really growing on me.
mm,
And I won't get into it too in depth here because I just don't want to repeat myself too much, but I'm trying to get the feel for the parry. It's much more of a Lies of P style parry. And as when we were talking about that, when that game was what we were playing, I don't like that it's a parry that you have to do slightly before. It's like you have to wait for the animation for the sword to slightly go up. It's different from Sekiro. I have Sekiro brain rot. It is permanently in my brain that that's how a parry should feel. So anything different
mm,
throws me off. But I am getting there. I haven't really. What's interesting is I expected this game. I don't want to say it's an easy game, but I expected to have more trouble with it because of that, and I'm really not. They
mm,
give you lots of different power ups and special abilities that,
mm.
if your parry game isn't perfect, you can really make up a lot of that through special abilities. So, having a nice time. I'm liking, playing dress up with Eve, which I always like to play dress up with my characters, not just when they're titty bitches. You know what I'm saying? That was a little rude. Some titty ladies, some titty ladies.
Yeah.
Um,
Booby
booby
lady.
ladies. I like doing the dress up. Holly and I talk about the different outfits and stuff together. Also, change her hair, change the hair color,
Mhm,
give her glasses, make her look a little sophisticated.
mhm. Some
So that
earrings.
that
Mhm,
that aspect's fun too. So overall, like I said, a little bit down on the beginning, but the more I play it, the more into it I am. The more I understand the combat. There's like a little bit of like I would describe it some like first game clunkiness to some
mhm.
degree. There's some
Correct.
things that like when you're in these open world sections, you need to be at these camps in order to fast travel.
Mhm,
And you gotta. I kind of like. There's certain things where I'm like, if I'm standing in the camp, just let me go to the map and
mhm,
fast travel. But instead, I got
mm,
to go click on this phone. She brings
mhm,
up the phone. Then I go to the map. Then I click fast travel, stuff like that. I'm like, it's just
mhm,
like, there's like sometimes like a few extra layers in between doing something that
mhm,
add up and start to feel like kind of annoying. So,
mhm.
in particular, too, there's this one boss.
Mm,
Well, it's, I guess to put it without any spoilers, there's a repeated style boss fight in the open world sections. Gene, you'll know what I'm talking about. That's
mm,
like a barrier before you go into this level. And when you go up and talk to do this boss fight, you can't skip the dialogue. And these are not easy
mm,
boss fights. They're not really, I guess they're like kind of bosses. They're very like skill checks in terms of how good you are at the parrying stuff.
mhm,
So luckily I maybe did this boss 6 or 7 times in order to get the parry windows right. But you got to sit through the dialogue every time. Whereas
Can't
other
stand that.
bosses, you can skip it. So I'm like, what? Why can't you just skip this dialogue here? I don't get it.
You're playing the patch version. We couldn't skip it at all in the unpatched version too.
So even the cutscenes before bosses, you couldn't skip those.
You could not skip the cutscenes. So you had to fucking suffer through the dialogue over and over again the whole time. And yeah, that's what's annoying. Like when you're just trying to buy some shit from fucking Kaya at Sister's Junk in the city.
Yeah, Sister's Junk, which is
fucking name, dude. For fuck's sake, dude.
Sister's Junk, dude.
But the fucking shop is called Sister's Junk, which is across the street from the fucking R shop.
The hard R shop.
From the hard R shop. This fucking place, dude, I swear to God. And then you talk to Kaya, and then like every time you talk to Kaya, like it's always a whole fucking conversation that you got to go through before you can buy your shit. And you got to keep skipping R2 or pressing X, and it's so slow. I get it.
Yeah, but yeah, I'm surprised how much I guess I had a lot of time this weekend to play. It's not normal that a weekend goes by and I'm halfway through a game, but I did put a significant amount of time in, and I've got a good flow. So I actually think that I don't know if I keep up this pace, I'll be done with it by next week. I think. But I haven't looked. I was kind of, you always flirt up with the idea of the platinum, like if that's going to enhance the experience by unlocking a bunch of stuff. There's this really cute animation that you have to collect all these cans for these drinks. And it's the most anime moment, maybe not the most, but she does this thing where she like looks up at the camera and holds the can. Super cute. I like that.
She did a cute pose,
Yeah. Yeah. So overall, good time. I have no feelings about the story at all, other than I get that they were upfront about the Nier inspiration, and I'm glad they were upfront about it. They had to, because every second of this game wants to be Nier Automata. Just through and through, this wants to be a Nier game. And I get it. I mean, I love Nier. But even in a lot of the story beats, it's like, hey, in this section, everything's desolate and broken outside, but then you go into these sections where it's like cool advanced civilization. It's like, oh, okay. I've done that before. Girl in heels running around in the desert. Done that before. Like it's pretty shameless. But
yeah, even the sprinting in the desert feels like a familiar.
And you do the boost thing when you start running, and it's like, oh, this you got. Then you start, yeah. So,
I kind of wish you could sword surf in the desert. That would have been cool. That
would have been cool.
But you're at the halfway point. You're right at the cusp of when the game is going to really, really start cooking.
Okay, good. Because I'm enjoying it. So that's
even if you read my boy Skill Up's review, like Skill Up was like fucking down on the whole game. Like he was like texting me, he was like bitching it to me the whole time. He was like, this game is just a fucking Nier ripoff. So fucking bored. It's fucking characters, blah blah blah. And he got to the end, and he was like, wait, I like this a lot. I was like, yeah, I know, dude. like the second half like gets crazy. Like it gets really good. So and then like he eventually like was like, yeah, I recommend Stellar Blade. I was like, yeah.
Yeah, dude.
Because that whole last part is undeniably like a really, really amazing game. So, and then that's where the mixed reviews come in from, because like this whole beginning part is pretty boring,
Yeah.
There's nothing special. It's okay, but yeah.
Yeah. The beginning, it's not a bad beginning. I've played games with bad beginnings. It's not bad. It's just kind of, it's a little long. It feels like a very extended intro in the beginning.
Yeah, especially the first level, and you're just like, oh, and here's a construction site, and here's a sewer level, and yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I will keep you guys updated on Stellar Blade and talk more about that next episode.
It's only Tuesday. You might even be done by Thursday tomorrow, by Sacred Symbols. Who knows?
Yeah, we'll see. Yeah, let's get into some ending questions here. These ended up, I had a few more, but I want to make sure you guys have, time ending period. So I want to make sure that we can get to some of these, but these ended up both being kind of framed for Eugene, but I think Mike and I will be able to hop in a bit as well. This one comes from Jin Pack, who says, hey, punching up fam. This question is mainly for Gene, but I would like to hear everyone's perspective. You mentioned in Summon Sign that Dave the Diver is also made from a Korean developer. This made the game even more appealing to purchase as a Korean gamer from Hawaii, too. My question is, what are the top 5 Korean-developed non-mobile games in your opinion? Is there even 5 to choose from? Though this is a relevant question, with Stellar Blade released this past week in Micah's love. Oh, thought this was. They didn't include a T. Thought this was a relevant question with Stellar Blade released this past week and Micah's love for Dave the Diver. Love what you guys do. Keep it up. So yeah, Gene, we're seeing a bit of a rise in Korean game development, at least in the AAA space in particular. Thinking of Lies of P, Stellar Blade, and also Dave the Diver, a game Micah has talked highly of. What do you think about this? And are there even 5 Korean developers you could name? I thought, maybe not that, but...
Yeah. So I'm looking here at the Wikipedia. Video games developed in South Korea, and I do not recognize any of these games. Arc Lord, Arc Age, Big Biz Tycoon, Black Desert Online, I know. That's a good action RPG, Korean RPG. That's kind of like trying to be like a Devil May Cry MMO, and I think if you turn Final Fantasy 16 into an MMO, that would blow away Black Desert Online in terms of like just player base and just gameplay. I think. Here's Dave the Diver. They did digital. Korea did digital on Battle Online. I recognize Kartrider. So Crazy Racing Kartrider is like the biggest game in Korea. You go to Korea and like everybody is playing this game. Like in every corner, like someone's fucking playing Crazy Rider, Kartrider, or whatever like that. And it's just a Mario Kart ripoff. So that's why like everyone's like, oh, Lies of P is a Bloodborne ripoff. Oh, Stellar Blade is a Nier Automata ripoff. You know what? Crazy Kart Rider is a Mario Kart ripoff, and that's what we do as Koreans, man. We just take what we can get, man. Right, Jin Pak? Right? You fucking stealing my name and just like to take. That's what it is. Jin Pak. It's just like a different version of my name, you know. That's what it is. Yeah, that really is. Yeah, so Gene Park is actually Gene Park is actually like an American version of Jin Pak, probably. You know,
interesting.
Yeah, I don't recognize any of these games. I don't know. I guess Lies of P is the best game made out of Korea ever. I never played Kim Hyung Tae's Magna Carta series. It's cool, and you look at the box art, and they had really big boobs back then too. So like he's been on this tip.
Yeah.
He's been consistent this whole time. What are you talking about?
The lasting appeal. Really.
Yeah, he's been Kim Hyung Tae. He has been him this whole time.
Yeah. So and Micah, I know you're a big fan of Dave the Diver. I had no idea that was a Korean developed game.
I had no idea until I played Dave the Diver, and I just saw these Korean names. I was like, what the fuck? What the fuck? This is a Korean game. Yeah.
No, and I didn't notice because if I'm going to be honest, when credits come up on screen, I'm like bathroom time, or time to get my drink, whatever I want. So like I definitely didn't notice. And now I'm like, oh, well, that's very cool because, yeah, I can't think of any others. And even I've took the time just right now to like Google Korean developed Switch games. And what is coming up is a bunch of games that are not developed in Korea. And it's all these games, like Star Ocean Second Story R is coming up, and that's developed by a team in Tokyo, I believe. So it's just like, these aren't correct. The list that's coming up, even when I try and Google, give me some games developed by Korean studios. And it's like, even that is like, I'd have to word this 10 times better because apparently the list is small. So no, I can't think of any others. But yeah, Dave the Diver, highly recommend. It's a game you heard me talk about a lot. And no, it was fantastic. I had a couple little sticky points with it, but I'd be excited to see what they do next, certainly.
The last question here is from James M, who says, Punches. I wanted to comment about one of Gene's tweets. This one in particular is about Hades and how it was one of the best games of the previous generation. Personally, I have to agree. It is the game I point to where, given an example of the best representation of the hobby. It has it all. Story, voice acting, art direction, pace, and above all, gameplay. Can't think of a recent game that is more balanced in these characteristics. Micah and Dustin, what say you, James M? So yeah, Hades right now, kind of Hades is back in the conversation with the Hades 2 going to be entering early access pretty soon. I know there was that technical test recently, so there's been some continued discourse, some revived discourse on Hades 1. But Gene, what do you think about James saying as just a glowing example of the medium?
Yeah, I totally agree. So yeah, everyone knows about my feelings about Hades. I think it's just one of the best games. I think it's clearly better than like The Last of Us Part 2 or whatever. But I will say that I am getting tired of like all this discourse about Hades being like the only like, oh my god, look at how fucking sexy the characters are. Like and like everything has to be like this now. I was like, no, man, you know, these are just gods, you know. Like there's nothing original or unique about like making sexy gods. That's exactly what the gods are. They're sexy, you know. So that's why people were criticizing Xenoblade Chronicles 2 for being too sexy, Pyra and Mithra especially, right? What do you think about them, Micah? Are they sexy? What are you distracted by their boobies?
Oh, so like I made a joke to Colin because I was playing it up on the TV
Uh-huh.
and when he was working, he comes downstairs and it literally was like an undershot of Pyra's boobs. And I was
Perfect.
like, this is the part where your mom walks in, you know, like I'm playing this alone. None of this is happening. Colin comes downstairs and there's literally like just this undershot of like these heaving breasts. I find
We're
it
not
just,
beating the allegations. God damn it, Colin.
it's just one of those being a straight woman playing these games. It's distracting because it's funny. It's distracting because they show her from the side and she just looks ridiculous, and it's just like they're too big. But I'm not like bothered by it. It's just I can't stop laughing at it. Or like she'll turn around and like they swing forward and it's like it's just fucking funny to me. But that's the real problem is because I look at something like Hades, for example, and I'm like, the hottest character in that game is the skeleton boatman. All right, like that's the hottest guy in the whole game.
That's true.
So, but I have strange taste in people, I've been told. So, but no, I appreciate pretty looking characters mostly because they'll give them like interesting outfits and things, no matter how skimpy they are. It's a little weird that Pyra's running around in like short shorts and like a thong coming out of it, but it's fine. It is what it is. You just gotta roll with it because the game's good enough that I'm like, yeah, whatever. But it's a little weird sometimes being a woman playing these games.
Yeah, I mean, like, I look at Pyra and Mithra as like gods because that's kind of their role in the game, right? Like she's like the lady of the sword, so she's kind of a god. So it's like, okay, well, if she's a goddess or a god, then yeah, then she's probably not going to be wearing much skimpy much clothes because that's what gods do. They just don't like wear a lot of clothes. So that's why when I see the gods of Hades, I'm like, this is not revolutionary. Like, oh my god, look at this reimagination of the fucking gods. Ooh, they're fucking sexy. No, of course they're gonna be sexy. That's what the Hades did. They did their job, you know. But yeah, I fucking can't believe Colin walked in on that moment because like Colin, Colin dismisses the Xenoblade Chronicles game because Colin will love the Xenoblade Chronicles games because like he loves like old school Final Fantasy VI and Final Fantasy, like he loves that era of Final Fantasy. And it's like I keep trying to impress upon him that like that's here in Xenoblade Chronicles, and he's like, no, those are fucking anime titty games, and then he just walks in and it's right at the moment when it's like the maximized anime titty game, you know, like god damn it.
Yeah.
Never been.
No, that's how it always goes.
Yeah. Oh well.
Yeah, that's dude with I mean, any titty game like that to some degree. Like Stellar Blade, there's a couple outfits that I can't play the game and take it seriously, you know, with it on. I'm like, this is just, I'm glad it's there for people to appreciate, but I can't play the game in the bunny costume. I just can't. And it's not that I'm a prude or anything. It's just there has to be some level of seriousness to the game, and this just feels so out of control. And I could see that being the case with Pyra and Mithra too. That it's like they really got to be that big, you know? Like
exactly,
their backs must be in pain. Their backs are hurting. Poor girls.
Yeah,
or I guess girl.
It's how I felt too. You know, during parts of Unicorn Overlord, where some of those women are pretty stacked.
They're huge, yeah.
And it's just like, and Unicorn Overlord, of course, has like the extreme, like jiggly, you know, jello physics. And it's just, you're in a conversation and the boobs are going up and down. And it's like, that's not how they work. All right. Like they might shift a little bit, but if you've had a conversation with a large boobed woman, they're not just flapping in the breeze.
Yeah. They're not flopping. Yeah,
it's not how this works. But I was actually laughing because Colin playing Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, and the portly man with like the Donald Trump hair, his belly like jiggle physics are hysterical. Like they applied Tifa's boob physics to this guy's gut, and it's just swinging around during conversation. And I'm like, you know what? This is fair.
Palmer.
This is fair. If you're going to apply jiggle physics to people, you apply them to everybody. And I get a kick out of that whenever that guy's part of the story.
Yeah. So shout out to all the jiggle physics out there.
Oh yeah,
did
you guys see that farm game that posted about jiggle physics yesterday on Twitter?
No.
So there's like indie game, and I never fucking heard about this fucking game. It's called Farm Folk or something, Farm Folk game, and they put out a tweet where they're saying like, hey, we're trying to like get our jiggle physics correct, and they show their girl character running, and then like it shows like 3 different variations of like her boobs bouncing. And then so people got really mad about that, saying like oh, this is like attracting gamergate, this is gamergate coded, which honestly, to be fair, like I think it's kind of fucking weird that they decided to go out there and like ask like how jiggly the boobs could be, because like the Stellar Blade guys didn't do that, they just did it. You know,
they just did it.
Yeah, we gotta fine tune the locomotion on these boobs.
Yeah.
We gotta crowdsource that.
Yeah, this is exactly. This is not a question that you crowdsource. Just fucking make a decision, make an executive decision on what your boob physics are. You know, it's embarrassing to have to ask. You know, figure it out yourself. You know,
figure it out.
Yeah,
sort it out.
Go sort it out. Sort it out. Exactly.
Sort it
like
out.
As we say in someone's line, sort it out. Go find a real boob and measure that shit. You know. And then so they actually came out and apologized later. So we're sorry. We're actually genuinely like asking for feedback. And it's like, so everyone's like, no,
that's even more cringe as apologies. You gotta, if you already asked, just stand by it.
It is cringy to apologize. Like, oh my god, yeah. And the apology is like so namby-pamby. He's like, no, we were really asking like feedback. Like, no, you weren't, man. You were fucking making a joke. And just admit that you were making a joke and just say, shut the fuck up. It was a fucking joke. You know, sorry if you got offended, and we'll figure out a boob physics ourselves. You know.
I thought everyone wanted the boob physics. What do people want it? Do people not want it? I don't know. I don't know what people want.
Yeah, you know, that's the issue, man. Like, we're all online and we all want different things. You know, that's the issue.
Yeah. You think the one thing we could all agree on to some degree is video game boobs, but even that's contentious.
No, it breaks our brains, you know, like Sydney Sweeney, you know?
Yeah. Well, guys, I think it's time to wrap up Punching Up this week. Man, I keep my Twitter feed open just for any big news that drops. I don't want to miss it and have to wait. Nothing for Nintendo, but the Xbox event got announced. Kendrick dropped his diss track finally. Dracula Flow 5 came out. So quite a bit of interesting things outside of the world of Nintendo here.
Oh yeah, but, here you go. That Kendrick track goes absolutely bonkers, my friend. I'm a big fucking hater, and I don't think I've ever hated anyone as much as that man hates Drake.
Yeah. I'm excited to listen to it.
Oh shit. I'm so excited. Okay, let's fucking go.
Yeah, let's get out of here. Thanks everybody. We'll go around, I guess, real quick and say goodbye. Micah, thanks for hanging out. See you later.
Oh, certainly. Yeah, I'm excited to get out there actually into the real world. It's a gorgeous week right now. And so we're experiencing the warm up. The sun is here. So I actually am going to go touch grass, and I'm looking forward to it.
Beautiful. Glad to hear it. Got to touch grass every once in a while. Gene, goodbye to you.
Same here. I gotta head to work. So, but it's a beautiful day. It's 81 degrees. So,
ooh,
gonna pop on the headphones, walk around, and listen to Kendrick just absolutely torch Drake, I guess. Yeah.
Good. Yeah, I think that's well deserved at this point, in my opinion, personally. But thanks everybody for listening. We appreciate you. We'll be back soon with more Punching Up, and yeah, we'll see you next time. Goodbye. Punching Up, a Nintendo podcast, is a product of Last Stand Media and Collins Last Stand LLC, and is proudly recorded in the USA. The show is written and produced by me, Dustin Furman. My co-hosts are Gene Park, Dagan Moriarty, and Micah Watson. The show is edited by associate producer Ben Smith. All of Last Stand's theme music is by Ramon Narvaez. Punching Up, along with the rest of Last Stand Media shows, are fan-funded on Patreon at patreon.com/laststandmedia. The following names are at the producer level on Patreon, our highest tier, and we're grateful for your kind contributions and generosity to our independent endeavor. Thank you.